again. We're at it's this time. It's this place. It's here. It's
the same
now.
bat channel.
It's It's my house. It's Thursday. It's time for the RageSelect podcast. It's just every Thursday, like clockwork, for 11 years now.
Yeah.
The RageSelect podcast, recorded on Thursday, brought to you on Sunday
By Heat Tap.
Yep. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff.
And I'm like,
We got the weird news. I feel like in the first few months, actually, I feel like the momentum for 2023 is finally ending because
100%.
I just did the schedule for April and I'm like, oh no, this is like the old days where there's just there's a thing here and a thing there, but it's not just really easy. Oh yeah, there's Princess Peach, there's fucking the blah 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 blah, easy, and then in between there's all the good stuff. So I don't know. I feel like we're actually getting back to hey, you've got time to catch up on your backlog because there's not just a billion fucking things.
it helps, yes.
There's also not a billion newses. The newses are weirder. We had all these conferences early on. I guess in June we'll get back into Summer Games Fest and stuff like that.
It's because all the announcements right now are basically just and then they died is kind of the announcements we've been getting lately. Instead of just here's a new game, instead it's here, you remember that game you loved? They're gone now. All those people who made that, they all died in a fire. It's what the fuck?
You know what I'll say is it's it doesn't do anything for the actual people that have gotten laid off, but this is the second week in a row where I don't have any stories about people getting laid off. So
no, I've heard about some.
Well, don't tell me. I'll put them in next week. I like to have a few weeks where we don't have them, but
it just happened apparently, so that's the reason you probably haven't heard.
Okay, yeah.
And I have game dev friends, so they're very on top of that stuff.
Well, there you go. Well, let's see. But before we get to all of this weird ass news that I've got, I watched 2 movies last week, Michael.
Oh, what'd you watch?
Actually, I watched 3 movies. I watched 2 horror movies and 1 movie about the French legal system. Anatomy of a Fall is a good movie, but I don't have anything to say about it outside of if you want a dry French movie, boy howdy, do I got one for you.
I keep seeing this one screenshot of the guy mentioning it's a Diddy song or something like that. And then just somebody goes, but it's the instrumental one or something like that. I keep seeing that from it.
Oh,
apparently.
yeah. No, I know what that's about. It's stupid. Anyway.
I know it is.
It's not stupid. It's part of the plot. It's a very you go into this thing and it's ooh, is it a murder mystery? This is what I'll say about it. Is it a murder mystery? No. It is a character study.
Okay.
You're not going to know what happened. You're not going to know about the fall by the end of the movie. Well, you're not going to know what... It's a movie about a guy that falls and he dies.
Oh, they're just trying to figure out how he fell, I guess?
And the biggest part of the movie is his wife and his kid... They're in the middle of nowhere. This guy falls from the 3rd floor of their house and he dies. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I said I wasn't gonna. And
it's just a quick thing.
And and then the police come and they decide well, the wife must have pushed him out the window. And so then they have then most of the rest of the movie is her talking to a lawyer, and then there's a big trial, and they're kind of dragging up their marriage and all the problems that they had, and it's all blah 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 blah, right? But by the end of the movie, you will not know
if it happened.
What happened to that dude, and if he fell out the window on accident, or did he jump, or did his wife push him? You will not know that by the end of the movie.
Okay.
And I feel like that's something that I need to put out there because it's sometimes you go into a movie like this and you get to the end and you're just what? The credits start rolling. You're bitch, what? Oh, come on.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Anyway, I watched 2 horror movies. One was okay, and one was slightly better than okay.
Which one was that one?
Before you got here, I just finished watching a movie that they put on Shudder from Australia called You'll Never Find Me.
I heard about this.
Yeah, it's an Australian movie. It's got 2 actors and a mobile home. It's a rainy night and there's a guy and this lady shows up at his mobile home and she's oh, can I use your phone? And he's well, come in, I don't have a phone, blah, blah, blah. And it's a very just 2 people acting at each other. It's about, it's 100 minutes long. It was good. It was very like kind of low key. I really wish I had watched it in the middle of the night when it was raining, as opposed to in the middle of an afternoon when it's up to like 77 degrees in Austin. So
yeah, it would have been perfect. Because yesterday, I think that's literally what it was yesterday.
Yeah. I should have watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
I should watch. Actually, both movies that I watched had rainy day, and it was snowing in Anatomy of a Fall. So I'm all about. I got a precipitation thing going. It was good. It's on Shudder. I mean, the thing is that like I kind of think that you should get Shudder if you're into horror movies.
Pretty much,
right?
Shudder is the horror movie place.
Yeah,
like not just normal horror movies, things that you wouldn't normally see anywhere else.
Yeah,
and that's what's great about it.
You can watch that.
They have a bunch of documentaries as well.
What was that thing called? Like Indomitable Flesh, or that thing with Heather Graham?
Oh,
that
was
very weird.
I heard that was I heard it was good, but it was very weird.
It was very, very weird. Also, a movie that has been out for a long time, but they just put on Netflix. I watched Bodies, which was okay.
I heard mixed things on that one.
Yeah.
Although I hear it has a good ending, a fun ending.
It does have a fun ending, and there's kind of like a climax where it's like a bunch of, because the whole point of this is it's a bunch of like young people, and they're in this house, and they're playing this kind of murder mystery game, and then somebody actually dies, and then it's like, oh, who killed them? And so all these teenagers kind of start turning, like 20-something start turning on each other, and like there's a part near the end where they start arguing in like the most young millennial way possible. Like, oh yeah, well, she doesn't even like your podcast. What? and I'm sitting here and I was like, oh shit, that's just fucking hilarious. Like, this is great. But then a lot of the rest of the movie is just people running around in a house trying to like, being suspicious of each other, whatever.
Yeah.
And the kind of reveal at the end, it was good. It's on Netflix. If you got Netflix, maybe put it on. It was fun enough. Like, but yeah, no big must sees this week. The You'll Never Find Me was okay, and Anatomy of a Fall was good, but like, you got to be ready for it going in. Bodies is 6.5 out of 10, maybe. Like,
no, it's fun.
Okay. What about you? You do anything? You got anything actually exciting to talk about as opposed to mine? Just like, I watched a whole bunch of movies and they were all like,
well, like I've talked enough about Final Fantasy VII at this point, I feel, and so I want to bring up something that I saw today that I thought was fun, because it's not a whole movie, it's just a trailer for something that I've been excited about for a while, and that's Jerry Seinfeld's directorial debut about the Pop-Tarts origin story.
I just saw the movie poster for this on Reddit. Like, I didn't see the trailer at all.
Yeah, so he's been trying to make this movie for a while, and it's his directorial debut. And it's about the story of how Pop-Tarts became a thing. And at first I was worried it was going to be the serious movie that had some comedy in it.
Yeah.
It's an absurd retelling of the entire thing. It's like
the Weird Al movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's about Kellogg's going against Post, who's like, we've made, because at this point, like the opening narration is Jerry being like, we're in the 1950s, the king of breakfast was milk and cereal, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then one day Post is like, we figured out how to make a fruit pastry that and make it to where it doesn't like deteriorate and get all bad. And they're like, there's no fucking way. Like, it's so like the first like part of the trailer is them being like, there's no way they did that. Maybe they did this and that, and it's just this crazy thing. And then eventually it shows some of the wackier things that happen as it progresses.
Yeah.
Like at one point, it shows a little girl robbing a truck full of Pop-Tarts. She's like, give me the Pop-Tarts, old man. It's just like, man, I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I was hoping this would be.
Sure.
It's not like fucking Air that
or
Ben Affleck did.
Blackberry.
Yeah. This is what I want from Jerry Seinfeld, is an absurd version of how Pop-Tarts is made. Like, there's a point in the trailer where like they're hanging out and a guy dressed like the Quaker Oats guy's there. And they're just like, oh, it's the Quaker Oats, man. And then there's like there's another guy dressed like a bunch of guys dressed like the Rice Krispie treats people.
Oh, Snap,
like,
Crackle, and Pop.
Yeah. And then so I'm like, this is stupid, and I love this. I want to see this real bad.
Okay.
And so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't realize it was his directorial debut until somebody said it.
So weird. The dude's been gone for a long time. It was like what? It was like Seinfeld, and then it was like what? One episode of 30 Rock. Comedians getting coffee, like just
there's a lot of comedians getting coffee.
Weird stuff.
Or Comedians in Cars was the other one.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he just did nothing, because he's had He's rich as shit. The man made Seinfeld, and it syndicates forever. They had.
What if I just buy NBC?
I love that. I love the moment Jack has realizes like, oh my god, he can actually do it. and then do you remember that Hulu like bought the rights for it for like $1 bajillion or something at one point, so they could air it? Like the man is not worried for money, but that's why I was surprised that this is his directorial debut. I'm amazed he hasn't done anything like this at all.
Yeah.
Prior to this point, like the last movie he did was the B Movie,
right?
And that was like the weirdest fucking animated movie I've seen.
Yeah,
it's like, what if the bees sued the world for honey?
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And also that lady clearly wants to fuck that bee is the other thing. But that's what made it so strange that this is the first time he's done anything this big in ages.
Yeah.
And it's got him, Melissa McCarthy, and it's full of like other comedians that like Bill Burr plays JFK in one scene. Okay. And I was just like in the trailer, and I was just like, okay, movie. Okay,
you have my interest. Well, that's like what, April, May on Netflix?
It's
right?
May, I think.
Early May on Netflix.
May 5th, I think is what it said. Something like that. It's early May. But I'm very excited.
Right before you walked in my house, I was just on Reddit, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
I didn't even see the poster, but I'm very excited to see what the poster looks like. But if you haven't watched the trailer, guys, I highly recommend watching the trailer. Okay. Just to see like the weirdness, because Amy Schumer plays the bad guy. She's the one on the post side being like, I'm going to destroy Kellogg kind of thing. And you're like, ooh, I'm very excited for how stupid this is.
Okay. And Final Fantasy VII, you beat it, and it was fine.
Yes, it took me 87 and a half hours.
Jesus,
because
man.
I did everything.
Jesus.
Or I did almost everything. The only thing I didn't do, I finally watched on YouTube today because I was curious as to how it ended. And it's good. It's got the most convoluted ending I've seen in a game since I've looked at Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. And I mean looked. I don't even mean finished a Kingdom Hearts game because it's been a very long time since I beat any Kingdom Hearts. Because it takes one of the saddest things in gaming, and then it's just like, but what if it was convoluted? And you're like, I guess, and then it just becomes convoluted. And at the end, I was like, I'm not even sad. I'm just confused.
From what I understand, I feel like that should be the subtitle of the game: Final Fantasy VII Remake. What if it was convoluted?
Pretty much.
Like, what if it was that game that you liked from when you were a kid, except we made it way more complicated for at least what I can. I mean, who knows? Maybe when the third part comes out, it'll all pay off. But at this point, it's just like, what if we made it real fucking complicated for no real good reason?
Yeah.
Like
the only the best thing about it, I'm not saying the only good thing because that makes it sound like it's bad.
Yeah.
No, the best thing about it is that now, since it has all this time, is I love the characters more now than I did in the past, because now I'm actually hanging out with them. They're having like full-blown conversations. I finally like, Tifa and Aerith were actually really good friends now, kind of thing. Instead of just being like, I guess.
Instead of it just being about the implication that they were friends.
The implication that maybe they were friends. And also, I don't find Yuffie super annoying anymore. Yeah. Although I'm still a little annoying, but that's more because she's still like a young person compared to the rest of them.
So wait, so now are you going to go back and play Intergrade? Or are you gonna?
Are you talking about the
Yuffie
DLC
side story? Yeah.
I might end up doing it because there's a lot of points in the game where they're like, you remember all that stuff that happened there? And I was just like, no, because I never touched it. And so I might have to just go back so I can see because there's one point where like there's a flashback to it, and they're like, don't you remember how sad this was? I'm like, no, I have no fucking idea who that is. In this thing that Yuffie's scared of, I'm like, again, I don't know. So yeah.
All right.
So if you guys have not played that, play that before you play Rebirth, because you're going to be very confused by anything that happens to Yuffie.
Good. More homework to replay a game that was like a fraction of the length that as these 2.5 games when I was a child. Sounds great.
I'm thinking of buying original Final Fantasy VII again, because they make a version of it that's similar to that Final Fantasy VIII one, where you can turn off the
battles and stuff. And you can really
there's an option to just there's an option in there apparently to just be max at everything at all times.
Yep.
I'm like, that would be kind of neat.
Tear ass through Final Fantasy VII.
I might just do that because that sounds kind of fun.
Why don't you try playing playing something that's not Final Fantasy VII.
Well, the problem is I don't have a ton of money now.
Yeah.
But I still have my backlog, so I'm gonna go through my backlog.
What about Persona 4 on Steam? You got a computer right now, right?
I do, but I don't know if I have Persona 4 at all.
I mean, it's got to be like $8 at
I
this
don't know.
point.
The problem is it's a money thing.
Yeah.
But I might just get back into Helldivers eventually.
Yeah.
And then I want to go through. Actually, I just remembered something that I should have been fucking doing this entire time.
Oh yes.
The Alan Wake stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through Alan Wake 2 yet. I've had it for months.
Oh, well,
still have not touched it.
Yeah, you should do that first.
Yes, that's what I should do first.
Anyway, speaking of JRPGs, Dragon's Dogma 2 came out last week, and it's a little rough. It's a little rough launch.
Yes.
In spite of the fact that it was the first game I've seen in probably 10 years where I could actually make a cat person. You guys should watch those dojos.
But no mustaches.
Yes, no mustaches. I at the
For
end
the
of the
cat, at
day,
least.
I had to put like a white tattoo on the face. You could position it wherever you wanted to. So I just put it over over the bottom of the nose to make it look like there was a mustache. I was like it was a little pissed off because I've been doing a lot of like customization in the Armored Core 6 like customization engine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean I can only have 2 tattoos? I need to put more white spots on Garfield,'s face, you fucks. Anyway, the game came out. I had spent like days and days just dicking around in the character engine, and suddenly I was online and I was just like, everybody's really pissed off right now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why they're pissed off, and let's start with the first thing, which is that Capcom put a bunch of crappity microtransactions in Dragon's Dogma 2. So here's the thing that I have to ask you, Michael. I remember seeing this and seeing people getting like, and I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's feelings. I'm just like, this is just me. This is just Jeff, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you got to live like me. You can do whatever you want to. Do whatever the fuck you want to. Turn this podcast off if that's what it is, okay? Like, were you shocked to learn that Capcom had put a bunch of dumbass, overpriced, useless microtransactions into Dragon's Dogma 2?
No, absolutely not.
Me neither.
Like I've looked at every now and then when I'm looking at sales on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to buy a bunch of red orbs for Devil May Cry 5?
Right.
Like they're constantly on the store.
Right.
Like, this isn't new at all.
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff can be unlocked in the game,
Or
the
just
way the
like-
Devil May Cry thing was. Even the Resident Evil 2, when they added those unlockable guns or whatever. Or in 4.
RE4 had all the charms for the briefcase. Completely useless. Unnecessary.
Exactly.
Absolutely unnecessary to play that video game.
It was weird.
But yeah, people, they seemed like just really upset at like how dare you? But see, I think that a lot of people that were mad about it, they didn't understand how Dragon's Dogma works. Because this is the same as the original one, where it's like they were like, they locked fast travel behind microtransactions, and it's like, no, they didn't. Fast travel in Dragon's Dogma has always been exceptionally limited to make you go wander, because the thing about Dragon's Dogma that I don't know if people, and if people are playing this, I'm sure they already know, but for anybody who's on the fence, right? You'll be walking from like city A to city B, and you're doing that because you haven't been there. You don't want to spend, because even if it has a fast travel point, you have to spend like a very expensive consumable item to fast travel.
You're
right?
gonna do like 10 of them at a time, apparently. Or something like that.
So it's very complicated.
Okay.
So there's two things. One is the thing that you need to use to initiate fast travel.
Oh, okay.
And then the second thing is they sell like, so all of the cities have like a big port crystal in them, and you can like touch it and then unlock that fast travel point. So then if you're anywhere in the world, you use a consumable item, boom, you go back to any crystal that you want. But then you can also put down 10 mobile crystals at any place in the game, and you get some of those. Now, I've been playing the game really slow, so I haven't even gotten one yet. But the thing is that if you don't do that, you're going to want to run from here to there. And as you go from here to there, Michael, you're going to run across like bandit encounters and caves and ruins and like a guy on the road that gives you a sub quest, and like the world, it's not just like, oh, I have to go to that other town, so Capcom is making me hold the up button for 10 minutes as opposed to just hitting a button to fast travel. It's like there's a reason to walk from place to place. Like it's more, and honestly, that's the way that the first Dragon's Dogma was. I got pissed off. There was I don't know, I saw somebody on YouTube talking about it like, no, they made the game irritating in order to make you buy the microtransactions.
Yeah.
But like, even if you did that, it would still, like, I think that if you just exclusively use, I've seen people say that they just went all the way to the end of the game. They just mainlined like the main quest. You miss like 70% of the game by doing that. Like,
that happens all the time lately.
Yeah,
People
you can
just
do
impatient.
it, but like all the flavor of the game is in like hanging around and taking your time and doing stuff. So if you want to like tear ass to the end of the game, fine. Also, they you can buy just like there's I want to look at all these DLCs. There's like there's these crystals. These are what you would use to like. There's a specific shop that uses them, or you would use them. Okay, so if you're getting a pawn, right, to help you, if the pawn is the same level as you are, if I'm level 20, I get a level 20 pawn, it costs 0 crystals, 0 rift crystals. But for every level above me that pawn is, it costs rift crystals, and you build those up, and they'll let you buy those crystals. But it's kind of like Devil May Cry, where it's like, you're not supposed to get a level 999 hacked pawn and just spend the rift crystals to have an invincible party member. Like, at that point, you're not even playing the game. You're just like, you're jumping the power curve because you don't really feel interested in playing the game. I will say that there's like these wake stones let you bring people back to life, but you get those inside of the game. I literally, in the first area, found an item where if you use it, it's not consumable. It's just like a lantern. And if you use it, it literally points out on the map where all the shards of weight crystals are. And so you can just run there and just pop, get them. There's also one that's like a Art of Metamorphosis, which is like if you need to edit your pawn, like the way that they look, you could. That's a cosmetic item.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, like none of this stuff is like necessary.
Not really. Like the one that I heard about right away was it's the jail key.
Yeah.
Where like if you're thrown in prison, you can use the key to get out really easily. And the guy's just like, I was thrown in jail, and then there were some boxes in there, and it had a key. Like right away. Like you don't need any of this stuff.
I've got 2 right now. I haven't done a single microtransaction in the game. So I don't know. I think that narrative got a little overblown, and I think it's calmed down a lot since then. Like, even talking about it right now is probably a moot point, but like, it just was kind of irritating because it's like, you know, the game wasn't this game. People really love the first Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma 2 is very similar to the original, warts and all, like hard parts. I told you about some bullshit that can happen in that game. There's just like, that's ballsy video game where you could just like gate somebody's entire like main game progress behind a thing that you just weren't paying enough attention to, and it did catastrophes. Like, it's just one of those games. Like, it's not like, you know, that game doesn't care whether you want fast travel. You've got ox carts, you've got like fast travel that you can do from time to time, but like it's not set up to as a greased rail to get you to the end of the game.
Yeah,
like,
it's got old school sensibilities is the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the microtransactions aren't pay to win, it's pay to be lazy.
Right.
Is what they are. And that's what all of them have ever been for a lot of these. That's why no one's ever had issues with them.
Yeah.
At least when they know what they are. Because the issue is, see, like you said, they came down to the fact that they just didn't realize that this is just them being like, hey, are you lazy? Or you also work like 80 hours a week and you just don't want to deal with that shit? Like, then just give us money and then you can just deal with that if you want.
Weirdest thing about that, though, is that it's like, if you did that, like, you would have a worse game.
No, yeah, and that happens all the time.
Like,
and it's the question that confuses everybody is like, why would you do that to yourself? And then it's been happening Helldivers is a great example of that, where there are people online apparently who they'll like buy accounts to have like the main top level.
Right.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, all you've done is you now don't know how to play the game.
Right.
And now you're going to be like, I'm going to do all the highest levels, not knowing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And it's just going to make it worse for you and the rest of the people who play with you.
Yeah. So
like, I don't ever understand like why somebody does that for games like that.
Well, I understand why Capcom does it, because they're stupid and greedy.
Well, I understand why Capcom's doing it, but I mean, like, why does the person buy it? Is what I mean.
Same answer? Maybe. I don't know. Like,
well, it's not greed if you're paying for it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
The other thing is, like, you could look at this store. I mean, I'm looking at the Steam store right now, right? But like, nothing on here is a weapon. It's
No.
not like you can get upgrade materials or like speed yourself up to level 20. Like the best you could do would be to hire super OP pawns using rift crystals. But even then it's kind of like, I mean, you could do that if you wanted to, but like I don't know. It was like buying the Praxis kits in Deus Ex or the red orbs in Devil May Cry is a perfect example. But even red orbs would make you more powerful. You can't even buy red orbs in this game.
No,
there's not something here for that.
And the reason it bothered me, not the transactions that bother me. The reason people's reaction bothered me is because it affected, I feel like, probably how the game sold in the beginning. Because some people thought it was a completely different thing that it wasn't.
It made for super juicy headlines, and it was a really easy story to convert into, like, look at how these developers are abusing you, for profit.
Yeah, and the reviews were, like, very mixed because of it on Steam.
Yeah.
And so it's like, come on, guys.
Actually, that's a great segue because there's the MTX thing. That's one thing. The other issue is performance.
Okay, that I don't know.
And performance is really strange because the thing about Dragon's Dogma that's big is the pawns. Like the pawns are the big thing, right? And the pawns of the NPCs are like kind of a cut above like the AI of normal. Like they don't just scriptedly do stuff. Like they'll, they chat, they'll comment. Like I saw a screenshot online of somebody who was like, yeah, once I worked for an Arisen and all he would hire was male pawns. I wonder if that says anything about him. And then like one of the other pawns was like, I don't think we should read that far into that. So there's all this.
Did you see the guy who said that he refunded the game because of that?
No, but it wouldn't surprise me.
That guy on Twitter, he's like, this game called me gay. And I was just like, I don't think that's what it was saying, but I think you just called yourself out as the issue here.
Okay, so the thing is that all of the NPCs in the game, they're more like they're more complicated, right? Than your standard NPCs. They're more complicated than like pick any other game's NPCs. So the problem at this point is that when you're in the wilderness and you're just fighting monsters who are not complicated, like the frame rate on the game pretty solid, right? Then you go into a city and it's full of NPCs and the frame rate drops by like 20 frames per second.
Oh, wow.
And what's interesting is that people were like, I don't understand. I've got a 4070. I've got a 4090. Why can't I run this at 120 frames per second? And the thing is, I've never seen this before. The reason it drops is not because of your GPU, it's because of your CPU. It's because it's doing calculations on what all of the logic for every one of those NPCs in town is.
Oh, wow.
And so like frame generation, that doesn't do anything. Like
that's amazing.
Like upsampling and DLSS, like it helps a little bit. In fact, like I got a story here that there's a guy who's enabled DLSS 3, and apparently it makes a fair bit of difference because it'll lighten the processor load so that you have more processor load available to do these calculations.
Yeah.
But what it means is that like this isn't something that can be easily brute forced because it's a processor issue, not a video card. For once in the life of a video game, it's not a video card issue because the game doesn't look that much better than a high-end PS4 game.
Not really, yeah.
It's not blowing anybody away with the graphics.
I always thought that was one of the more interesting things that's happened with Dragon's Dogma 2, but knowing that part of it makes more sense as to why that's the case.
Yeah. So that's been frustrating, right? Because especially with people who have PCs, who are used to the big bottleneck being graphics, like, no, it's your processor. And even like fully, Core i9, like super processors, they do a lot better. But those people are like, well, I've got a 4090 in the top processor. I should be able to run this game at like 250 frames per second. And it's like 60-ish, like depending on whether you're outside or in a town,
That's
like type of thing. So, yeah, so actually it's funny because the same guy that made that paid mod for Starfield that enabled the DLSS did the same thing for Dragon's Dogma, but the difference was that Dragon's Dogma shipped with DLSS 3 files They just weren't turned on.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so he just went in and like activated them and was like, here. That's all this is a mod to basically add the menu item where there wasn't a menu item before and use those files for DLSS. And apparently it works okay. Like it again, like I said, it puts more load. It takes, because your CPU also just does regular old like graphical stuff as well, and it takes more of the load off of your CPU by running everything at a lower rate, having the nice DLSS that ranks it up. I'm currently playing the game on the PS5, and to me it's like Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like it runs at 30 frames per second and less than that in towns. But in towns, all I'm doing is talking to people, and 30 frames per second in the wilderness is like acceptable once you've played it for a little while.
Yeah.
I get used to it still. Like, so yeah, but Capcom also came out and said that they are. Oh yeah, wait, I forgot about the stupidest thing.
Okay.
I don't know why developers do this, Michael. I do not know why developers do this. Armored Core 6 has one save slot in it, right?
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2 has one save game slot, and it's kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, you don't want people's saves coming, right? Like if something bad happens, like that thing that I told you about that I'm just going to be really vague about. You guys go look up the bad thing TM that happens in Dragon's Dogma 2. But like if you could just reload a save, that wouldn't be as you want to like
impactful.
Be like, oh shit, what do? I have to fix this. I can't just avoid it now. I have to actually fix it. But I noticed this when I was playing the game. It's one of those fucking video games. Once you start a new game, there is no start a new game. You have to go manually delete your save game, like on the PlayStation and the PC.
Oh, okay.
You have to like go to the directory and delete like the profile and then like start over and redo all your options and stuff, because the game just doesn't have a start a new game option.
What a strange thing to do.
It switches to continue, from start game to continue after you have a save file, and there's no option at all to go back and just start a new game. Like, let's say you messed up your Arisen's face, or you just decided you wanted to be a different class, or any reason in the world, you can't start over.
That's crazy. I don't remember last time a game did that, but it did happen quite a bit for a bit there.
Yeah. So Capcom's first patch, they've talked about they're going to, well, first off, that Art of Metamorphosis book that lets you redo your pawns, and I think maybe your Arisen, that's a very limited resource. They're going to up it, the quantity in the store to 99, where it's like, okay, yeah, go get as many as you want. They're also going to, on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, they're going to have a toggle switch for ray tracing and motion blur, because I think there were stories before this came out where it was like, we're going to uncap the frame rate, but like you guys were shooting for 30, so like it's not going to go above that on consoles.
Yeah.
But on the PC, I'll say with my 3060, like I didn't like that it was like 45 to 60 in the wilderness, and then it would drop down to like 30 to 25 in towns. I didn't like those swings being as big as they were.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to play on the console. But I can see where if you turned off ray tracing, which, I mean, it's got ray tracing, but it's not exactly, again, the graphical fidelity isn't so high that you're just like, oh my God, when this thing is... It looks nice. I'm not saying it looks bad.
Well, that's the thing about ray tracing is you can do it without it very easily. Usually,
Yes.
unless it's like a superly intense like graphical thing.
This is really baked in,
but
right?
for the most part, it's pretty.
Yeah.
You barely even notice it.
And then also, they're going to be adding a switch to frame lock it at 30 frames per second on the PS5.
Oh, okay.
So I assume that if you turn off motion blur and ray tracing, you'll get what I was getting, where you're like swinging up and then down and then up and then down. And you know what? Like I would have previously been a little confused about why would you want to lock to 30, but like sometimes those swings are more distracting than just being like, it's just 30, the end.
Yeah,
like
those are the type of swings that would cause somebody to get a headache.
Yeah,
because your brain is just like, oh fuck, I don't know what to do here, kind of thing.
Well, because if it's always 30, it's just like, well, this is how the game runs. And if it keeps swinging up and down, you're like, oh, here we come, chug, 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 and then it's like back and forth. And yeah.
It's like a roller coaster, like it's chugging up and then it just slams down. You're just like, fuck.
Yep. They're also going to be making the same stuff on the PC. DLSS quality is going to be upped, and then an issue where low quality models appear. They don't. They do the LOD thing, right, where it's like you have a guy in the distance and he's like a blob, and then when you get closer, it loads in the better models. Sometimes it wasn't loading in the better models. You just had a fucking weirdo hanging around.
I love when that happens in games though, because it always just cracks me up every time it does.
Yeah. So they're dedicated to trying to make it better. I do think though that this is going to be one of those things where it's like people don't remember this. I feel like they have to be reminded of this all the time. There comes a time in the midway point through the new console/hardware generation where games start coming out that are going to be really fun to play. Next generation.
Yeah. That's
going to run like buttery smooth on the PS6. But like they're not, I mean, they're just not fully optimized. I mean, who knows? Maybe Capcom puts out 4 patches and it runs like gold. Like the Resident Evil games all run at 60 frames per second, no problem. Like, and they look great. It's just the RE engine is not made for as big of a world as Dragon's Dogma.
Not really, but it's done a good job with everything it's done so far. But it finally ran into something that it wasn't able to really do. Yeah, which is we were wondering what it would take, and finally that's what it took.
Yep. Let's see. In other graphics news, we have some Microsoft stuff that we're trying to get through here. Microsoft patented a new ray tracing tech that could be good for everyone across the board. And this is basically, it's kind of weird to think that this didn't happen. This hadn't happened before, but this is a technology that applies exactly what we were just talking about, level of detail, LOD tech, to ray tracing. So like the further that something is away from you, the more simplified the geometry for the ray tracing is. So it's not trying to ray trace. It's only trying to ray trace like what you're looking at, basically. Yeah. And the less detail there is in the distance, the fewer calculations is doing in the ray tracing pathway to that stuff, because it's way far away. And like you don't need to see how good it looks, which is good, because I do think that AI upsampling and ray tracing have really kind of put a weird kibosh on like the enthusiasm this generation has had, because you're like, great, graphics have not exponentially increased, and now we've got these really powerful machines, these super fast hard drives. I can't wait to play everything super fast and have it look really good. They're just like, ray tracing. Like, well, what does that mean? It means everything is 30 frames per second now, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's really
like,
weird when you play a game and you're like, you want ray tracing or you want it to be fast? It can't be both. And you're like, but
or 4K.
Like, I want what? Like, why? Like,
yeah,
like the only game that finally was like, okay, you can have both, was the remaster of PS4 Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's one other one, but I can't recall it right away. But every game I've played, like the Final Fantasy 7 I had to stay in performance mode, because when I would try the ray tracing 4K, everything's super gorgeous, the game would just slow down.
Yep.
And I was just like, oh, okay. So some of them you have to do performance on them.
Yep.
And then there's somewhere like performance is super broken, and you're like, what the fuck?
Right. Well, yeah, somewhere you turn it to quote unquote performance mode, and it's like 40 frames per second.
Yeah, or barely, like, not even.
What is the point of this?
It's just it's a pain in the ass. I remember the last game I did that too, but it was I remember being confused that performance was somehow worse than quality.
Yeah. And it's very unclear also at this point, like what games are going to run well and which ones aren't. Like games that look exactly the same. I don't know. I was talking. We did that the Alone in the Dark remake, right?
Yeah.
And on my 3060 card, it kind of ran like dog shit. And then I put it on the PS5, and it was like, this is fine. Like it's fine here. On the other hand, Armored Core has like 1 billion explosions, and it runs 120 frames per second on my computer, just rock solid. Like it never wavers from 120 frames per second. So.
I just remembered it was Jedi Survivor.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, oh, let me do performance. And it was just like, no, this is not working at all.
Well, and then you turn it to performance, and you're like, this doesn't even look good enough for, or like, you turn it to quality, and you're like, this isn't like blowing my brains out. No, it's like, do you want it to look like somewhat better or run somewhat better? And I'm like, what would it take to get me to just have it run great or look great? One of the two.
Because I remember when I would try it, I would be like, the performance mode is just like, it was that instance where it would be fluctuating.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then so I did the quality one. I'm like, well, the game just runs normally, but it's still running into a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming the game's fixed by now because this was ages ago and it was very broken when it first came out. But yeah, that's an issue that keeps happening with games and it's very frustrating.
I agree. So I'm hoping that this. I'm also hoping that like we had the GDC Unreal stuff where they talked about how Unreal 5 all the performance across the board for Nanite and Lumen and all that stuff was like increased in the latest build of Unreal 5. So, yeah. Let's see. Next up, it appears that Phil Spencer really wants there to be like an Xbox Steam Deck. Like, he really wants there to be an Xbox Steam Deck. Apparently, he's got like an ROG Ally and was talking about how he just wants like that whole thing to just run the Xbox UI natively, like in mobile mode, and not to have to open it through another thing. And apparently, Microsoft has actually been working on like one or two different options for like, he's like, not xCloud, like I want Xbox games running on a handheld like the Steam Deck basically.
It's the forbidden market when it comes to anybody who's not Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I don't mean that in the fact that like you can't do it. I mean in the fact that everybody else has usually failed.
Yeah.
Because the Steam Deck, like as great as the Steam Deck is for a lot of people, it's not selling like gangbusters.
No.
That's the reason.
It's a pretty good sales for.
No, but compared to that's what I'm saying. Compared to what Nintendo's doing,
right.
The problem is every other market, every person who enters the market thinks that they're going to automatically be Nintendo leveled amounts of sales.
Mm-hmm.
Like luckily Gabe Newell doesn't give a fuck, so that's why the Steam Deck wasn't immediately canceled.
Sure.
Whereas the Vita was the great example of like we can totally make the PSP work, and then they gave up on it like within seconds because it wasn't selling gangbusters.
Yep.
And so I hope that Phil Spencer and whoever is in charge is smart enough to let it survive long enough for it to become that, because boy howdy, it's a hard fucking market to get into.
It would be nice though. I mean, like I know there's a lot of people out there that now, because of the Switch, because of the Steam Deck, there's a lot of people who want a mobile console, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be chained to a TV. They want to be able to lay in bed and play an Xbox. And so, you know, Nintendo, or as you just mentioned with the Vita, like Sony got out of the handheld market a while back. So like there is kind of an opening there where if you could play you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 on a Steam, on an X deck in bed, right? Like people would probably be interested in that.
The market's there, but for some reason nobody wants to, not nobody, but for some reason none of the other two that isn't Nintendo wants to put the work into it.
Yeah.
And the Steam Deck is putting in the work into it, but it's slowly doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for them that it is working out so far.
It's also, I mean, you know, the Steam Deck was so one of a kind, right?
Yeah.
A unified hardware profile for a platform that traditionally has had just like infinity hardware profiles. Like,
well, that's the main reason it's not. To me, it's not selling like gangbusters because the general audience doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Whereas the reason the Switch does is you don't have to be like, okay, I have to change this setting, this setting, and this setting to make this work, and then make this work.
Sure.
To another game. Whereas the Switch is like, I just have to click in the cartridge or download the game, and it should work for the most part, outside of the download version. So if Xbox can like pull that part of it off, they have a good chance.
Well, Xbox might need to pull something off because apparently, this is from a Kotaku article. I read some chatter from GDC where, like, apparently a lot of like developers are like, "Why the fuck are we putting these games on the Xbox?" Like, because the Xbox, again, I've got to remind everybody, in Europe, the Xbox is garbage. Like the sales of the Xbox in Europe are just absolute trash. And then developers look and they go like, well, they're also now starting to put all their platform exclusives on other platforms, and we already have to make it work on the Xbox and the PC. Like, what's the upside to this dwindling market? Because apparently also the sales on Xbox hardware are just like flat to going, like they're down. Like,
I'm not surprised at all.
They're not selling hardware, and so
they're the Wii U of this generation, which is not a good thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting, like, because, I think that you and I have talked a lot, we talk a lot about Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
That it's like Microsoft has this weird thing where they've kind of unshackled themselves from the console, but then, like, the second order effects of that is just like, right, so the console's not as important anymore. I might as well just buy a Steam Deck if I could play Game Pass games on the Steam Deck. Like, what would be the point? Why would I bother? The Xbox Series S is like a joke and a rock around the neck of Microsoft at this point, like keeping games like Baldur's Gate from coming out. The Xbox Series X, only time I boot it up is when there's something specific on Game Pass.
I haven't booted up my Series X in like maybe half a year. I feel like it's been a very long time since I've looked at it, which is not a very good thing at all.
No,
I think Exoprimal was the last time I really fucked with it.
So because Palworld was probably, that was a big one, and then I think I bought some. There was another. I think there's some more stuff that I
did Cyberpunk for a little bit, for like a hot second there, because that's what I had it on.
Right,
was that, and then I stopped after I moved, and then I turned it on again for the first time like a little while ago. I don't remember why. I just did.
Yeah,
and then it just took forever because I had so many updates. It's like the Xbox is like, where have you been?
Right. That also is like. They should probably cut that shit out a little bit. Like, they should probably write something in where, like, if your Xbox senses that you've had it turned off for 6 months and you turn it on, it should be like, okay, let's like we'll make him update like in an hour and a half, like not right this second. Because the last thing you want to do when you've got multiple consoles and you turn one on and it's just like update time, and you're like, oh god damn it, really?
Yeah.
Like,
it was a bunch of updates, and for some games I hadn't touched in a long time. Yeah, I was just like, okay, cool.
And then let's see, last story before we take a quick break here. It also appears that Phil Spencer is open to the idea of putting like Epic Game Store and like itch.io like marketplaces directly on like the Xbox.
That's weird. Like, would you be able to play those games on there, I assume?
Yeah, like it would be like a storefront that I guess they would split the revenue share with like itch.io or Epic
If
games.
anything, this just shows how desperate they are.
They wouldn't just let Epic come on there and then just like take all the fucking royalties. Like,
no. It'd have to be a really good deal for both of them.
Yeah.
For either one of them to consider it too. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that Phil Spencer might have like, so you know how he keeps talking about like how walled gardens are bad for everyone. What's good for gamers is like, what games are everywhere. Games should be everywhere. Play your Xbox games everywhere. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting corporate strategy, Cotton. Like, it seems like they want to get Xbox as many places as possible. But I'm like, Michael, I think this motherfucker might actually believe what he's saying out loud.
He might actually.
Like, what?
He might legitimately be like a genuine human being.
Oh, God.
When it comes to some of these things.
Oh, dear Lord.
Is somehow the most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But like, and not because it's a bad thing as him as a person. It's a bad thing as in the fact that the Xbox is now just being left to dry because of it.
Yeah.
Like, he's not being an actual good leader, in my opinion, because of it.
But you know what? They've got an opportunity. They have an opportunity right now because PlayStation, we did Min and I talked about the PS5 Pro specs, and they're not big. They're not huge.
I heard they're not huge, yeah.
Like, it's not an upgrade like the previous stuff is. So, hey, you know what? If the Series X could pull off a like, hey, are you playing third-party games? Look how much better they run on the Xbox than they do on the PlayStation now, because we actually invested in like a significant upgrade as opposed to a marginal upgrade.
Did you guys talk about the leak of apparently the all-digital Series X?
No.
There was, I don't even remember where I saw this. I just remember seeing a bunch of images of a white version of the Series X that apparently is supposed to be an all-digital one.
They've toyed with that. They had the Xbox One
S, yeah.
Right.
Everything was called the S usually for those
Yeah,
and then so that's why it's interesting that it's a Series X now that's just fully digital,
right?
But it's completely white apparently, and it looks exactly the same as far as I can tell.
Okay,
so we'll see how that plays out.
Great design work, guys. I love it so much. With that, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. We come back. We've got a lot more news left to go, so stick around, everybody. And we're not quite done, Michael, with Microsoft news. We have one more. We have some more Microsoft stories, but this is a little bit less high level. So you'll recall that a couple weeks back, Toys for Bob finally got themselves extricated from Microsoft's scaly grip and went indie. Yeah,
it was interesting that they did that once they were bought out, or once Activision, was fully bought out.
Yeah,
I'm happy for them, but at the same time, I'm worried for them, if that makes sense.
Well, don't worry no more, because apparently this week they signed a contract with Microsoft to do a game for them. So
what a strange thing to do, by the way. Fuck you, old man. Can I borrow $20?
Well, I can kind of understand it being like they didn't sign a contract with Activision. They signed a contract with Microsoft, and Microsoft is basically just throwing money into the game development fire to see what comes out of it. Apparently this is going to be just like a brand new thing, like something original that they're going to do. Well, that's great though, because Toys for Bob has been wonderful. What if they bring the Skylanders back? What if that's what they do?
That would be really funny. or they make something there. It's called Smash Bandicoot the Dragon or whatever. They're like, what?
Because weren't they the development studio that did Skylanders in the first place?
I don't remember who did Skylanders originally. I know they did the remix of. I think they did the remaster for Spyro, and then of course they did Crash 4 and the new Crash racing thing they did.
Yep. That horrible multiplayer game that they shut down.
That was the last thing they did,
Yeah. What a soul-crushing day that... I only wish that we could have had a double feature that was South Park Snow Day and Crash Battle, whatever the fuck it was called, of just like, all your favorite things, and they're horrible now.
Yeah. The best thing about the South Park thing is before I left, I found one of my recommended was like all the cutscenes to South Park
Snow Day?
Yeah. And it's like 30 minutes at most.
So an episode of South Park.
And so I'm like, I'm going to watch this when I get back because I like the story enough that I wanted to see what happens. Okay, very excited to see that, to be honest.
So good news for Toys for Bob. I mean, they seem like a well put together studio. Yes, so hopefully they put something great out.
I hope they get to finally make a game that isn't just related to Call of Duty.
Yep.
And if they don't make anything Smash related, or not Smash, Crash Bandicoot related, or even Spyro related, I'm not going to be upset by it because I like them as a studio and I can't wait to see what they do.
Right. Let's see.
Hopefully they live long enough to do it, is really what it comes down to.
Ooh, got a lot of news. Okay, let's do this. Overwatch has a new hero, Venture.
Yes, the they, them.
Yes.
As everybody's on the internet has been wildly reminding me.
Non-binary. I don't care whether... listen, I'm past the point of caring whether Overwatch characters fuck and who they fuck and why they fuck. Like, I don't really care.
Well, Jeff, you clearly have not been on Pornhub or whatever.
Well, I'm from Texas. I'm not putting in my driver's license number to get on that shit. Yeah. This is an interesting character. They're basically like a Splatoon character.
Yeah.
Like they go under the ground and then kind of pop up, and then they've got like this. Their whole moveset is based on this kind of drill stuff. Apparently they can they've got this drill dash jump that's like high enough that it can go over May's ice wall. Where I was like, what even is the point of May's ice wall if somebody could just go over it? But and then they've got just kind of like a big wave attack that comes out. I don't know. It looks like a pretty fun character. I kind of like the idea of... I wonder how they're going to balance the just like go underground, or I wonder how long go underground lasts, because it appears that you're invincible when you're underground.
Yeah, it's probably not super long, but it's probably not like... hopefully it's not really short either.
Yeah. I mean, as always, I'll say good character design and fun idea. Just... not interested in playing Overwatch 2.
Yeah, here's the problem. If all of this happened when Overwatch 1 was still a thing, I probably would be excited.
Yep.
Like when they did the Cowboy Bebop announcement, I was like, you know what? That would have worked on me like 4 years ago.
I would have been really interested in playing as Amalga. That was a cool looking character. Like I liked his design. So,
but instead they're just like, but what if we were just terrible all the time?
And then there's also like a new map. They've teased this kind of like Egypt map with kind of cyber. Cyber stuff.
I've never seen, or not never, but it's been a while since I've seen a company fumble an IP this hard so fast.
Well, then hold on to your butt, because the other story I've got is that apparently all PvE plans have been scrapped at Blizzard. This was a rumor that has now been officially set in stone. Apparently all those layoffs, that was mostly the PvE team. The PvE events did not do what they wanted them to. They already scrapped the story stuff. So now Overwatch... Okay, so stick with me, Michael. So now Overwatch 2 is going to have no PvE, no story, PvP only. And starting with Season 4 on April 16th, when this new character comes in, you don't have have to pay to play as new heroes. This is Overwatch 1.
This is just Overwatch 1 with less members on your team, by the way.
Yes.
And way worse mechanics.
You sold me Overwatch 1 just with a bright, shiny wrapper on it, and then slowly but surely made it just back into. You promised all these features, then just got rid of them, and it's just like, yeah, what about a stupid Fortnite skin? And I was like, well, I got Fortnite for stupid Fortnite skins.
I'm so upset with Overwatch 2 because, man, I even remember when Overwatch 1 came out, it took over everything.
Yep.
The gaming world was a flutter. It won Game of the Year.
Yep.
It showed up in Ready Player One.
Yep.
It enhanced the future of pornography for some reason.
There was the ass controversy for like a month. Tracer's butt got nerfed. They nerfed a butt in that game.
And then they were like, Tracer's gay, by the way, and then everyone lost their minds.
What?
God, what an interesting time it was, Overwatch 1. Yeah. I will never forget Overwatch 1 and the fun times I had with friends on that. But then I remember the slow downfall once they were really put all their money into esports stuff
and PvP
because they were very much like, okay, now we're gonna like cater to the people who are super hardcore about this, and I was like, those aren't the ones that really like this game to begin with, and now it's not for me anymore. And then Overwatch 2 happened, and it wasn't for anyone anymore.
Well, Overwatch 2 might not be for you, but we got a new hero shooter announced last week. It's a Marvel property. You know what? Okay, but we're gonna talk about this because I have some feelings, but like some feelings, not a lot of feelings, some feelings. But like, is it weird to me that you can look at the state of all Star Wars and all Marvel properties and you're just like, all this should have happened 8 years ago.
Yes.
Like, none of this should be happening now. Now, that whole IP and franchise and all of those things, they've cooled. They've cooled
all of
to
it
a
is
simmer.
Cold.
But like when they were a raging boil, what did we get? We got Crystal Dynamics bullshit online Avengers game and Star Wars Battlefront 2 that ruined microtransactions and Star Wars and everything.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's like, oh, okay, well, what if we made an Overwatch, but it was Marvel? And I'm like, that's a great idea. 8 years ago.
Yeah, this would have been fantastic when Overwatch 1 first came out.
Yep. So we got this trailer this week. It appears to be like a 5-on-5. The UI looks exactly like Overwatch. It looks like they just
it's just Overwatch. Like when you look at the way it's laid out and even the aiming and everything,
and like the levels, the art on the levels, everything just looks like Overwatch. They might as well be playing in like this must be like
Iron Man's like doing the exact things that fucking whatever her name is, the Fly Lady does.
Oh, yeah. God,
like,
not Sombra.
I forgot. The problem is I don't remember the names anymore.
Farrah.
And like, there's some characters like look at this fucking person skating like fucking Lucio.
Yep.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yep. I mean, well,
funny.
Hey, I don't want to be too hard on it because when Gundam did the exact same thing, you and I were both totally on board with it.
We were. And I think the main difference between that and that was that it still felt more like a Gundam thing.
Yeah.
It didn't try to copy the art style of Overwatch.
Right.
Where this is doing all of those things.
So yeah, we've seen Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Loki, Groot, Rocket. Who's that lady? She's like Hulk. We got the Snow.
Which lady?
Snow, the ice lady that's like Luna Snow.
I generally don't know.
It's like some kind of Korean. I looked at the Wikipedia and it was like a Korean hero, and I was like, from what?
Yeah, I generally don't know. I was surprised Penny Parker was one of the people.
Okay, I got a bone to pick with Penny Parker because her spider mech outfit looks like Iron Man. Like it's red and yellow.
I thought it was an Iron Man one at first.
It looks like a lot of it is because a lot of the Spider-Man stuff in the Marvel movies, right, is like based on the Stark tech, and it's kind of oozed together, and now it's just like that. Just looks like Iron Man with the spider legs coming out of the back of it.
The issue is the color scheme. The color scheme is just an Iron Man color scheme.
It should be red and blue.
It should be her color scheme from even the comic version of it.
Yeah. But lots of characters, and then they show some more. Do you know what's going on with fucking waifu Galactus over
Galactus'
here?
daughter?
Is that Galactus' daughter?
I forgot she existed until this happened again.
Good lord.
Because she was created, I want to say like 10 years ago.
Really?
And then she was used for this one miniseries. They made a Twitter account for her at the time.
Why?
I swear, it's still up, by the way. You can still find her Twitter account. and her name was Galacta, and then she just disappeared. Like everybody forgot she existed.
Christ almighty.
And so when she showed up back up again, a lot of tweets are like, I'm going to remind you guys, this isn't like we made Galactus woke. This is a real character that existed a long time ago that you guys just don't remember.
I'm more the opposite direction of like, I don't mind if Galactus has a daughter, but it's like, but half of her armor is off, so you can see her exposed shoulders, and she's got like big, like Asian hair coming out the back.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you have to sexify like you could have just had her in a skin tight Galactus suit, and it probably would have been sexy enough to a lot of people that want to get stepped on by
Pretty much.
mommy. But like the fact that you had to make her into a fucking K-pop stan, I'm just like, what are you doing, you guys?
That's what she looked like, though.
Okay,
That's as far as I've seen the images of her covers and stuff, and that's just what she looked like.
There you go. What do you think, Michael? You gonna buy it? You gonna play it? You gonna play
I'm
this?
going to try it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm going to love it because every time I look at the gameplay of it, I'm not really that in love with it.
It's also Netmarble, which is just like one of those Asian like online service companies.
And I've been hearing some like so the backstory stuff where some people have had some issues with them before. Like one guy's like, I did some bunch of art stuff for them that I never got paid for.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And also, this is going to sound like a broken record because I've said this in the past, because I don't like Spider-Man's outfit.
When do you like Spider-Man's outfit?
The issue with this specific one is his back, because there's too much blue. Like, there's not enough red on his back. Like, they made the spider really... Like, if you look at it, you can't even see the symbol, basically, because of... And it's kind of annoying. But
you guys should listen to Michael, because the thing is that if Michael did like the spider on the back, he'd probably spend like $600 in this video game.
I probably would, yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, look, guys, here's the deal. They're probably just going to have a classic character pack just because they know we're going to fucking do it. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you where I'm like, well, one, the age of hero shooters in my mind is kind of over, and two, like,
if the Gundam one can't survive, I don't think the Marvel one's going to survive.
Yeah,
and if it does, it's going to be monetized to hell.
It's going to be free to play with a bunch of things, and everybody's going to hate it. And they're just, this never works. Like it worked for Fortnite.
Like the problem is it never works because they don't do it because they have a good idea.
Yeah,
they do it because they think it's going to make them money.
Yeah,
it's what happened to the DC MOBA.
Yep,
it's what happened to fucking
Avengers.
The Avengers. It's what happened, unfortunately, to Anthem.
Yep,
kind of thing. Like there's so many things that just don't work out because of it.
Suicide Squad kills Justice League.
And I'm happy with the idea that maybe it could work for somebody, but. Yep. I generally don't think it's going to.
Yeah, it's also a third person.
I love the memes already based on it.
It should be noted it's also a third person.
Yes, it is. So. That's the only thing that I think it has somewhat going for it. But yeah, I love the memes about Banner though.
Yeah,
because apparently, from what we can tell, Hulk is like a transformation for some reason. And so Banner is like normally walking around with like a gun. And so people are like, he pulls out the gamma gun. And so there was like a meme where like, you gave me cancer, Bruce Banner? What the fuck is wrong with you?
All right. Oh shit, we need to go faster. Let's see. Must go faster. Let's see. In other news, they put out Bethesda put out a tweet saying happy 30 years of Elder Scrolls. The first Elder Scrolls game, Arena, came out 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And apparently as part of this, one of the things they mentioned is that Elder Scrolls 6 is in a playable state currently, and that the internal team is having a great time with it. Who knows whether that's bullshit or not, because those dudes put out Starfield, and even though I think Starfield could be fun, I don't think it really is fun.
No. The problem is every time they're like, everybody loves it. And it's like, are you sure you're not have a gun to the back of your head as you're saying this?
Yeah.
Especially after what we heard about Starfield recently.
I don't know. Maybe though, without having to reinvent the wheel, they're just like, we just made more Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, maybe it's just Skyrim again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also in this, they mentioned this. Everybody ready to feel old? Old alert, old alert. Everybody, old alert. This year marks the 10th anniversary of Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online has been going on for 10 fucking years.
How is that possible?
I don't even know. Yeah.
Good for them, I guess. The whales must be keeping them afloat.
Apparently. Let's see. Oh, shit. Okay. Grand Theft Auto 6 is maybe in a little bit. Well, okay. This is a weird story. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer had 2025 at the end of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
At least I thought it did.
And I believe that so then I think that people had decided that it was going to be out summer 2025, but apparently there's a new report from Bloomberg and a few other places saying that like they're behind, and that like the result of that is that Rockstar is making everybody come back to the office immediately, like,
oh wow,
to try so I'm not a big fan of forcing return to office because it limits the amount of people you could do. But there was a story last week, you actually mentioned it to me, and I mentioned it, I glossed over it briefly, about Starfield.
Oh yeah.
And like one of the reasons that Starfield's development apparently was so troubled was because they had so many remote studios, and it's really hard to, like, you can't just say, hey Jim, I need you to drop everything and make sandwiches for the rest of the day for the sandwich quest that we're doing. You have to like submit a request to, you know, Bethesda Dublin to like create 40 sandwiches that has to be approved by their project director and scheduled and then like put on the thing.
The rumor has it that exact sort of situation is what killed the Avengers game, was that since everybody was remote, it was way harder for them to send each other stuff. Yeah, because it was large amounts of file downloading, and it
has to be secure. Like you can't, you know, you don't want it to get intercepted or be leaked or anything. So apparently they're bringing everybody back into the office to work on Grand Theft Auto 6. There's an interesting philosophical question here. I did say we're going to go faster. There's an interesting philosophical question here about would you rather come back to the office for the last like year of development or crunch at home? Like, because it's possible that the efficiency gain. Now, this is in a perfect world, right?
No,
like,
that's the problem.
Managers
honestly,
are garbage and they don't do their jobs
and
right.
Even
blah,
then,
blah, blah.
bringing them in the office doesn't mean it won't be crunch.
Yes, that is correct. But anyway, so basically, there were stories out there that said that like they're aiming for spring of 2025, but it's more likely that it'll be fall of 2025, and it's entirely possible that it could be pushed out to early 2026 instead of late 2025. I'm saying this to everybody right now because you're going to see the internet lose its collective goddamn mind, even though we've had like 5 years of like, remember Cyberpunk? Remember what happens when we put games out too fast? You remember what it's like when they can't cook all the way? You want a finished game. I know you want it. I want it too. Everybody wants it, but we need to wait for it to be done, not for it to arbitrarily hit a thing and then be put out half fucking broken.
I'm hoping they stand their ground, because apparently I saw this on Twitter before I came here, was that apparently the Take-Two shares went down after the announcement. So
management's going to be like fucking Strauss Zelnick is going to be over there fucking with a whip. Just
going to show up with a jar of tuberculosis ready to help out.
So just remember, everybody, we would like companies to not have to crunch. We would like companies to be able to put out finished video games. And what that means is that if we can't play Grand Theft Auto 6 next year, dude, I want to play Grand Theft Auto 6 next year.
Yeah.
I want to go PSAT, with fucking Bonnie and Clyde, okay? Like, I want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. But if it's a difference between waiting for an extra 6 months to get a game that isn't fucking broken, I will take that these days, because too many fucking games only get fixed after the fact.
Like we just talked about Dragon Dogma's performance.
Yeah.
I would rather that not happen with Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yes. Let's see. Speaking of awesome video games that everybody wants to play, there is a lawsuit that's happening right now in I believe this is Arkansas, where this like group, this class action lawsuit is suing a bunch of game manufacturers for being like, your games are so good. This is being spearheaded by this one parent.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Your games are so addictive and like fun and stuff that it turned my kid into a sociopath. That like he won't go outside. He won't talk to anybody. He dropped out of school. He doesn't have a job. He spent thousands of dollars on microtransactions. And the idea here is that you guys have used like Skinner box techniques and loot boxes and the risk reward stuff to a point. And I was never, and nobody ever told me that if I let my 7-year-old play these incredibly psychologically addicting video games, that it was just going to fucking break their brain and turn them into a shitty kid. Because you know that it's terrible, and I don't like to talk about it very much because I see it from time to time. But you know, there's like that thing where when your kid gets big enough and you try to say like you're not allowed to play Fortnite, that they can get so riled up that they like punch their parents in the face.
Yeah, that
right?
is very much a thing.
Like
yes.
there comes a point where your teenager becomes this hulking like fucking behemoth, and
I think of that King of the Hill episode where Joseph goes through puberty and Dale's just fucking terrified of him.
Yeah. So like I get the impression that's what's going on here. And you know what's funny is that there was a time where I would have just waved this off as like, how stupid is that? But by the same token, like when I grew up and the video games that I played when I was 7 or 8, like they didn't have these techniques.
No.
They weren't trying to subtly make me buy DLC and stuff.
When Mario died, there wasn't a prompt that says $4 to continue
right.
for another like 15 lives.
Yeah. So I actually have a little bit of sympathy for this because they've been using all these really advanced techniques in games. I don't know what it's like to start with games like Fortnite.
No.
I don't know what my brain would look like if I started playing Fortnite when I was 5 years old. Like I might be a sociopathic jerk off. 5 years old, I was playing with rocks. I didn't have anything. Like I had like plastic Han Solo. Like I didn't have anything that looked as good as what they have now. So I'm kind of sympathetic in a few ways to being like they create these like super attractive monetization schemes to hook adults, but they never think about what happens when you put that into the brain of a fucking 4-year-old. Now, by the same token, I also think that the parents should be doing their research and not just shoving kids in front of screens.
Yeah, it's a due diligence thing that a lot of parents they don't want to do.
Yeah,
and it's frustrating because then they'll blame everything but themselves, like right away.
But on the third hand, which is my dick, on the third hand, how are normie parents supposed to know that they even have to do this? They look at video games and
Look,
all
Jeff,
looks the same
all you have
to
to
them.
do is Google big juicy red tomatoes.
Right, it's just the good place all over again. So like I also have that kind of thing of like, because the ESRB and you remember we had all the hoopla over loot boxes and gambling for children and blah 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 blah. And they just changed it enough to not get in trouble.
That's what always happens, though.
But it's still there.
It's always going to be there. And the problem is there's no good answer for this one because I understand why these microtransactions exist.
Yep.
It's to subsidize development costs for the most part. Or at least it started out that way.
Yeah.
And then eventually it became, also extra profit. But sometimes, like you said, kids don't understand how that works. There were stories for years where kids were just spending thousands because they didn't understand that buying extra crystals or whatever the fuck the game needs.
They didn't understand money.
Was the taking money.
Yep.
They just assumed it was a thing in the game that said yes or no.
Right.
And they said, why would I say no?
Right.
And that's really what, like, that's why I don't feel bad for the parent. I just feel annoyed for the parent because even if they did do their due diligence, I don't know the best way to explain that to someone who doesn't understand how games work.
You gotta listen to the RageSelect podcast.
Only the grandmas know about it.
Only
Jeff.
the nanas, yeah.
Not the normal parents. The grandmas know
I
it.
told you this was going to be bad for them. Oh, because the other thing that I was thinking about here is like a year ago, Epic paid like a $250 million fine for doing this.
Yes.
Like that would be the time when this kid was like, like younger, right? So it's like, well, the damage is already done.
Yeah.
So like, the fuck do you do? Like, do you make the payout to be like free rehab if you need it for brain? Because again, the thing is, I don't have this problem. You don't have this problem. People who are older don't have this problem, but we didn't grow up with this shit being directly injected. We were people before they started trying to manipulate us. We don't know what it's like to be 5-year-olds being manipulated by fucking Bobby Kotick to buy battle passes.
Yeah, passes, soccer players, that kind of thing. Like, they don't understand how money works, and they won't really understand how money works even after they grow up, because their brains are still in that thought process where they're like, well, I have to buy the skin now.
Right.
And it's
like
just,
you guys if you guys ever want a trip, you go back and find old YouTube videos and podcasts and shit from like when they first announced horse armor.
Horse armor, yes.
And how we like the like 90% of gamers were like, fuck that, I will never buy You want to charge me after I've already bought a game? You go fuck yourself
And
to
it was like
death.
$3,
Yep.
if I remember correctly.
Yep, but it was like, it's the principle of the matter. I will never do it. I will never do it.
No, but that's the thing is it's like it's quaint.
Yeah.
It's like nowadays you're like I look at Fortnite right now and there's the racing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when it first came out, they were like, you want to spend almost like $30 on one of these cars?
Nope.
You're like, what the fuck? Like
Yep.
and they finally lowered it because nobody was buying it.
Yep.
But the fact that they had the audacity to think that people immediately would do that really shows what was going on. And the thing is, people probably did get them. And so they got their monies out of it and then just lowered it to get more money out of it.
Oh, by the way, this directly ties into me saying that I don't think that the DLC in Dragon's Crown 2 is a big deal. I don't think that like 8-year-olds should be playing Dragon's Crown.
Or Dragon's Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma.
They probably shouldn't play Dragon's Crown.
Yeah, 8-year-olds should definitely not be playing Dragon's Crown.
They definitely should not be playing Dragon's Crown. Maybe when you're older.
Yeah. Let's see. We got some interesting news from Larian. First off, Larian is going to be adding a whole bunch of evil endings to Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 already has like an evil ending, but I think it's got way more like exposition for what happens if you do good endings to various people. And they're just like, we want to reward the people who want to be fucking shitlords. And so there's going to be a whole bunch of new evil shitlord endings added into Baldur's Gate 3 over the next few months, which is really good. Also, this was probably very interesting. I really respect this shit, man.
It's bittersweet.
Larian came out and they said, we are not doing DLC for Baldur's Gate 3. We are not doing Baldur's Gate 4. We are not making another Dungeons and Dragons game. We're already spinning up on the next thing. We would prefer to, we have our own ideas. We want to make our own types of games. We do not want to be locked into being the Dungeons and Dragons guys forever. If you want more, go talk to Hasbro, basically.
Yeah,
like,
this is the direct, not consequence because it makes it sound bad. This is the direct results of the fact that they do not have a shareholder that they answer to. Because if this was a shareholder
he's the
thing,
shareholder.
yeah, if they had shareholders that they have to answer to, they absolutely would have been shoehorned into only being the Dungeons and Dragons guy. Like Insomniac is stuck in there right now, being the Marvel people at the moment, even though, you know, prior to that they weren't. But that's how easy it is to get
I want
that happen.
Another Ratchet and Clank. I want a Ratchet and Clank.
But that's exactly what I mean. Like, it shows how easy it is to get pigeonholed, even if you were successful prior to that point. Like, Rocksteady were the Batman people forever because of it. And then, you know, fucking all of the Activision people became the Call of Duty people because of it.
I'm incredibly surprised that From Software put out Armored Core last year and not Dark Souls 4 or even Elden Ring for that matter.
They were this close to becoming only that until somebody was like, what about Armored Core? And then they're like, oh, thank God.
Well, yeah, Bloodborne, Sekiro, they've been trying to bust out a little bit.
Well, the problem is those are all still very similar in scope. They became known as the Soulsborne people,
right?
And then they just kept adding the things they made into that same thing. And so it was unfortunate that was what was happening to them. They're forgetting their roots of, you know, giant robots, and luckily they remembered.
So yeah, it's so weird. In the statement that Sven Vicky put out, he actually compares the whole thing to his dog that died.
Oh Jesus!
Where he's like, you know, you don't just spend forever like thinking about your dead dog. You go buy a new puppy and then like get on with your life and have a new adventure. And I was like, I guess if that's what you're into,
that's a strange way of putting it. I get where you're going, but at the same time, maybe you shouldn't have invoked a dead dog. But no. But the thing was, I'm happy that they're doing it, but their explanations make sense, like you said. Because a lot of people thought it was Hasbro's fault because of because they had laid off all the people they had worked with originally. So there was a lot of like rumors and like Hasbro fucked them over and now they're super upset about it. But I heard when they decided, he's like, oh, everybody was like, oh, thank God, because they were working on a DLC, and then Sven just one day was just like, I don't want to do this, and then they all
shut it down,
and he's just like, shut it down, and they were like, and like the people working it were like, oh my God, thank you for saying that, because I don't want to do this either, and so they just stopped.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I you know what company I used to love to death, Michael? Naughty Dog.
That's another great example.
And I was just like, and now all they've been making for the last like decade is Uncharted and Last of Us. And I'm just like, could you guys used to make other shit, man. Like you make something else that is not.
Make another kart game.
Make another Jak and Daxter, for God's sake. Make an ultra realistic Jak and Daxter. Or what better than that? Make something new.
Yes.
Go do something new that's not just rehashing my childhood or heating it up in the microwave and putting it in front of me like, I'm like, yeah, no, I remember, my man. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, like they used to be able to make a new franchise every few games because they would usually make 3 or 4 of them at most. And then they would make a new one. Yep. That's what happened with Uncharted into Last of Us. And then, but then they just stopped with Last of Us, and they're like, what if we just remade these Last of Us games over and over again? And then what if we tried doing a multiplayer, which failed miserably? Yeah. And now we don't know what they're doing.
Okay, let's go into super high gear. Hey, that MMO Dune, we got some stuff on that. There's a really interesting article talking about how in the early game, like, the developers want people fighting over spice and not like bases. That they don't want people like rust coming into your base. Like, you can do base assaults, but by default they'll be really, really difficult. So like in the early game, you're not going to go try to pillage somebody else's base, but you'll see a giant spice blow happen, and then it's like everybody runs for that to try to get as much spice as they can, like out of the
spice
thing.
Must flow, as they say.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting idea. I still don't know if I want to play that game.
No, I'm never going to touch it. But
one of the big drawbacks for that game is because this is a Funcom game. They were asked, in Conan, there's a slider that can slide the giantness of the dong. The dong lord can be praised in that game, and they asked Funcom, is there going to be a dong slider in Dune? Because this is the state of games journalism that we live in. But hey, whatever, I'm talking about it. And they were like, no.
The only giant worms in this game are out there.
Yeah, is Shai Hulud. And so they say... basically their explanation was like, that's not what Dune's about. Dune's more about like, what do they say? We want to focus more on Dune things. It was so instead of like the sexiness, because Dune isn't sexy, and I'm like, the fuck you say? It's the 7th book. There's a bunch of people who enslave people with weird tantric sex techniques.
Yeah, I was about to say that doesn't make any sense.
Fuck you guys. Dune is sexy as hell. I don't know what you're talking about. They probably left the orgy out of the fucking movie.
That's probably why
they probably left the orgy out of the movie, and so now people don't. They've left it out of both movies. You remember that part in the Matrix where everybody's fucking at the rave?
Oh, the rave orgy.
Yeah. When the character in Dune 2 takes the water of life, that's supposed to be going on at the same time, and I'm pretty sure it's not in the movie because I haven't heard.
Yeah.
I feel like I would.
It would be all over the internet.
A headline about like, you won't believe the orgy scene in Dune Part 2. So
if it was the boys' game, it absolutely would have a dong slider.
Dong slider. You put that dong slider back in. Speaking of super sexy stuff, we got the announcement that Stellar Blade, the internet's new weird obsession, is going to be getting a demo on the PS5.
Oh, that's good.
So that should be out, I think, next week. But it's going to be out, and then apparently it's just going to be one of those things where like the entire first level is there, and then if you do that, you can just transfer your save game directly into the main game and just skip the first level.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So by the time you hear this, it'll already be out. I don't know. Stellar Blade has been a real. There's been I don't know. It's a weird thing online where people are like, "Look at the protagonist of Stellar Blade. This is what women in video games should look like. Those SJWs are making the women look all bad, but then this woman looks hot." And it's just like, that's a low poly Asian waifu.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
It's not what you think is happening. And they keep pointing at that one outfit. You know which outfit I'm talking about?
Yes.
But the funniest part is that finding out what that outfit's for.
Yeah.
Is that it makes it turns on essentially extra hard mode.
Right.
Because it makes it because you have no armor on basically,
right.
And so you die super fast.
I also saw a thing, not to just single out Stellar Blade, but I did see some screenshots of people in Dragon's Dogma 2 going into the pawn rift, and every person there was a hot lady with just like no pants on, and they were just like, you motherfuckers need to calm down.
Yeah, what the fuck, guys? Give them some pants.
So
Solomon Grundy want pants too.
We got the leak of a new Sonic game.
Sonic Toys Party?
Yeah, so this was briefly leaked, and then Sega hasn't talked about it. It's Fall Guys with Sonics.
Oh, Jesus.
Where it's like a bunch of Sonics and Knuckles and Tailses, and they're basically doing Fall Guys. I actually think this is a really good idea for a Sonic game.
It might be, actually. Yeah.
You know, you got to go fast. You're racing, and you're also trying to get through dumb obstacles, and, you know.
Well, yeah, it helps that it as much as it is Fall Guys, it still looks like a Sonic level.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it more interesting to me that way.
It's got a little bit more going fast than the like dumpy little beans and Fall Guys.
Like you're just straight up racing people now, and I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah. So this was briefly leaked, and then it was DMCA'd, and this is probably this had been rumored as it's also a phone game, which I think
makes
a lot of sense.
Looking at it, yeah. That's kind of a shame, though.
I'm sure it'll probably come to consoles. I mean, they put all Sonic goes on everything all the time, right? Like
that just sounds gross, Jeff.
They're not gonna. They're not gonna. Hey, it's not my fault. I'm talking about dogs and sexy cyber
all
ladies.
He eats is chili dogs. He has to go somewhere.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll put it somewhere that you could play it eventually. Speaking of,
I wonder if Sonic eats a lot of fiber because all he eats are chili dogs. I hope he does. Is all I'm saying.
I've never seen Sonic shit. I've never seen him.
It's because he's fast about it.
He's got to go fast. Sega of America, the labor union got ratified.
Oh, that's good.
So 150 people in the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, Aegis, ratified that on Tuesday of this last week. And basically,
Aegis is the name of something, isn't it? And something else.
It's a noun. It's like a shield or something like that. Like it's a specific word. They obviously custom tailored.
I have heard Aegis before.
Yeah,
so they probably came up with that before they came up with the name.
Yeah. The one thing that they have is. This is really interesting. One of the things that this labor union does that most others don't is they have just cause prohibitions built in, which is the opposite of at will employment.
Oh,
so it's like if you want to fire somebody, you need a reason.
You have to have a cause.
You can't just be like, I don't like Bill, get him the fuck out of here, which is what it's like here in Texas,
yes,
right?
That is at will here. Yes.
Which you know. It's funny how I've lived under that employment system my entire life. And then employers are like, why don't you have any loyalty to our company? And it's like, because you can fire me whenever you want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to give you a reason. You can just do it whenever you feel like it.
Weird. And you would have been like, no, I'm good. And that would have been the end of it. And then, because like a lot of things with at-will employment, people don't understand just how hard it is to prove that they fired you for something that was not related to discriminatory reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas just cause, then you absolutely can.
Yep. This is after, of course, Sega axed a bunch of their temp employees.
Oh, okay. This is a good move. This is something that I want more of. Is more developers should start unionizing because of what's going on currently.
Yep.
And it might make it easier to like not have to worry about this sort of thing, and maybe even make it easier to have these conversations with management.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely, 100%. Yep. I know this is going to be shocking to you, Michael, but a new report says that GameStop is still slowly dying.
I'm shocked, Jeff. You mean all those Funko Pops aren't selling like hotcakes?
Apparently, the reports are saying, it's just digital, right? Like everybody wanted to fight back against digital, but it's just like, yeah, but it's easy, you guys. Like it's very easy to just buy a game in my house. Like spend $60 to want to drive to a GameStop and then get like pitched on whether I want like a strategy book or a Game Informer subscription or some other bullshit that I don't ever want.
Well, the main issue that GameStop has done is all they've done is make buying games incredibly difficult.
Yep.
Not just because of all the stuff you mentioned.
Yep.
But because you'll walk in, you'll be like, hey, this says this is a brand new game, and they'll give you an open box.
Right.
With the words new on it.
Right.
And they're like, well, it's because, it's new. And it was like, but it's clearly fucking, and you don't even have the case. Like, it just says new on it.
Yep.
Like that's happened to multiple people over the years. Whereas if you can just buy on Amazon for damn near the same price, and sometimes lower. And on the digital one, it goes on sale constantly.
Yep.
Whereas if you go to GameStop and it's like, this is a pre-owned game, it's $5 less.
Yep.
And you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
Like, it's not working the way you think it is anymore.
From October 1st to December 31st, GameStop's revenues was $1.79 billion. That is down from in 2022. It was $2.23 billion, so like a 20% drop year over year.
They only survived because of what happened with that stock thing.
The meme stock and COVID and no, not even COVID. COVID killed them.
If it wasn't for the meme stock stuff, they would have died a horrible death.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no sympathy for GameStop, because when GameStop as an organization had power in the video game industry, they abused it mercilessly for decades.
Yes.
And they were shitbags. They were shit to their employees. They're even shittier to their employees now. So I'm like, I'm sorry that people will lose their jobs if GameStop goes out of business, but like, fuck you.
Yeah, they're not even a full game store anymore. After they bought ThinkGeek, they transformed half of the store into a bunch of collectibles that nobody fucking wants.
If I want to buy a game, I go to Best Buy, because at least I don't have to. I just go to the counter with my game and I check out, and it's not that hard. Or I order off of Amazon if I don't have to have it immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, like, I don't want, like, I've walked into GameStops every now and then, and I'm like, there's nothing here worth getting.
Yep.
Your collectibles are either overpriced or it's clearly been here for like a year.
Yep.
And nobody wants this shit. And it's just, and their shirts are like terrible for them. Like, everything in there is terrible.
There's no reason to go there.
There's no real reason unless you really want a controller now, and Best Buy just doesn't have the color you want.
Yep.
That's kind of it nowadays.
Let's see. We're just about out of time, but I think we can run through these. $400,000 worth of Playdate handheld things have gone missing. Apparently,
if people don't remember what those were, they're the ones with the little handle,
crank.
the crank on the side.
Yeah, they got a little analog crank. The details of this are fucking amazing. Apparently, like, FedEx delivered them, and then they were just like not at the warehouse, and then like there was another crate of them that got delivered, and like somebody that worked for the company or whatever went down to the warehouse, and they found that the crate was sitting in an open lot right next to the warehouse.
Oh my god.
And that the person who signed for that, and they were just like, it was just shrink wrap, so you could see that it was just like a thing full of the Playdate consoles.
Yeah.
Apparently the person that signed for it was like the same person that signed for the last one, so it seems like it's just like incredible incompetence, and then just leaving a thing out on, leaving a pallet of merchandise on the street, and somebody probably just pulled up and they were just like, oh shit, go get that pickup truck, let's just fucking take these.
This shit. You'd be surprised how often that happens.
Yeah.
As someone who works in freight, because I'll get people be like, yeah, this got delivered and it was just left in the rain.
Yeah.
But somebody and they're like, how did this happen? I'm like, somebody literally signed for this.
Right.
Like, I have the proof that somebody saw it, signed for it, and then walked away.
Yeah.
Like, ask them what happened,
yeah.
not me.
I don't know. It's weird. By the same token, I will say that like Amazon, if what I'm ordering from you is less than $30, I don't need you to send me a picture from some person's cell phone. Don't make them take a picture of the thing sitting on my porch. It's fine. I heard it when they threw it at my door. But yeah, maybe with the pallets of Game Boys, like, don't just put them in the
don't put those in there. But
yeah. And last but not least, we got a little bit of information about Remedy's Control multiplayer spinoff.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, the big thing, they put out this kind of like promotional image for Condor. It seems like they're getting pretty good about it. They talked about the story of it, how it's like after the events of Control, the Hiss are still in the oldest house. So these are like missions of just regular people going out to try to like clear this shit out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I do too. Though apparently one of the big things that they talked about was that it's not going to be a free-to-play game. It's going to be like a not AAA priced game that then has additional microtransactions and cosmetics and stuff like that.
I remember hearing that when they were toying around with the idea, because originally it wasn't like fully confirmed.
Yeah.
When they did their whatever the fuck it was one of their annual calling things they did, because that was how we found out that
an earnings call.
Yeah, it was an earnings call if I remember. That was how we found out where Max Payne 2 was at the time,
right?
Because people weren't even sure if they were working on it, and they're like, okay, we're starting to work on it finally. And then And that was how most of us even knew this was a thing.
Yep.
Like most people forgot about it until they're like, okay, we're very much still working on this.
Yep. Yeah. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're right at 45 minutes, so we got a lot of trailers, and we got a few more things left to talk about. But yeah, stick around, and we'll be right back. And we're back. And Michael, it's time for trailers. It's time for video game trailers. You'll never believe what happened last week.
That a man can fly?
No, I believe that.
Is it that you're walking on air?
No Man's Sky got a new update.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I was close. It's in the sky.
Yeah, pretty much. No Man's Sky got a new crazy ass update.
Every fucking time with them.
Every fucking time, these guys, they can stop. But they've revamped space stations. The space stations all look way better on the inside. On the outside, they've improved the guild system inside. They've updated the graphics engine and the menus to look better. And probably the biggest thing is they now have a ship editor where you can literally put different pieces together and build your own ship from scratch with the parts that you've got. There are now crash ships on planets that you can salvage for individual parts, so you can make your own ship. The entire outside of all the space stations has been revamped so that they don't all look very similar. They have very different colors and they look different. And you can now send your big fleet of starships on like runs to collect items or whatever, because you can have like a fleet now, basically. And then sometimes your fleet will send out like a distress call because they're being attacked by pirates, so you can jump in your ship and warp to their location and have a fucking space battle with them. And I'm just like, every time I see a new No Man's Sky update, I'm like, if I keep waiting, this is just going to be every video game. It's going to be like, oh, we put in a whole beat 'em up. Oh, there's a puzzle game in here now. Oh, look at this thing.
It is literally the exact opposite of fucking Star Citizen.
Yes.
Where just every 20 minutes they're like, here's something that's free. And I mentioned this before we started recording, which was the tweet, where it's like most people see this usually when it's a sales tweet, when they're like when Steam has a sale and they're like, oh, it's a Steam sales time. It's like, no, my wallet.
Right.
And the difference is like here's another free update. It's like, no, I have money, please let me pay you.
Yeah.
It's like, for love of God, we everybody has forgiven you years ago, dude. Let me give you money for this shit.
Yep.
Like, you have done enough.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, I gotta assume that they just like, they keep making money every time this happens.
I don't know. Maybe they sell more No Man's Skies every time this happens.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just I feel like it's like, doesn't everybody own a copy of No Man's Sky at this point?
I feel like it was a free game at one point.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. This is fucking crazy. Like, this is just fucking nuts. Like, the level of stuff. It's almost just like, I don't know. Poor Sean Murray had something to prove to the world of just like, oh, you're going to make fun of me? You're going to make fun of Sean Murray? I'll show you. There's fucking 8 years of significant updates to this one game.
We traumatized Sean Murray so badly that he's been... He treats it like Uncle Ben was shot in front of him because of No Man's Sky, and that he has a responsibility to us. Yep. And I'm like, dude, we get it. You've done it. Stop it.
And, this is like, and the other thing to remember is just like, right, this is like in addition to online multiplayer, building planets, like,
he's gone way past any promise he made.
Yep.
Like years ago.
And I don't know if you watched this trailer, but at the end, the like lady voiceover is just like, more is yet to come.
Christ almighty, like, Sean Murray.
Okay.
How are you surviving? How do you pay people? What is happening?
I have the idea that it's like, hello, because they're all working on No Man's World or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
The new one. And this is all just Sean Murray. Like every weekend, he just goes home and he just keeps adding shit to No Man's Sky. And they're like, Sean, you want any help? He's like, no more help.
I'm just picturing like that other meme where it's just like, please come to bed, Sean. And he's like, I'm going to make ships editable.
Right. So
it's like, Christ, Sean.
And also, it should be noted, it looks amazing.
It looks fantastic.
Like, all this shit looks amazing.
And it's all free every single time. I hope you're all happy, world.
Yep.
You bullied a man into giving you free content for 10 years.
If only we could do that with every developer.
Yes.
So yeah, that's No Man's Sky. Good news, Michael. Castlevania is somewhere else that Castlevania is in a game that I want you to play. So Dead Cells learned that the way to get Michael to play stuff is by putting Castlevania in it. And V Rising is now putting Simon Goddamn Belmont as one of the vampire hunters into V Rising. So.
See, the problem is that I have to fight Simon. I don't want to fight Simon.
You don't want to fight Simon?
Simon is scary.
Yeah, but when you beat one of the vampire hunters, you get their powers, and then you can use them with your vampires. You can be like a vampire with vampire powers. So
all I can think of is there's a song from Starbomb. They're the guys. It's the band that you or Raptor made.
Yeah,
or the Game Grumps made. And there's a song called Crashervania, and the entire plot of it is that it's about what if Simon basically what if Monster Mash was happening, but Simon showed up and we started killing everyone.
Okay.
And that's my first thought. Because there's this great little song where he says, "'Tis I, Simon Beaumont is here," and that's all I can think of the second he shows up.
Yeah. It's just an animated trailer, but looks good. I don't know. And V Rising rules. I'm glad that V Rising is kind of like the new Dead Cells, where it just I feel like people are getting their hands on it. And they're just like, wow, this is amazing.
That cross on his back very much shows that it's going to be a big old weapon that you can use probably, because that's not normally how big that fucking thing is.
Absolutely. May 8th, that's coming to the PC version, and then TBA on consoles.
Cool.
So, yeah. Good stuff. We got a lot of horror stuff this week, which is weird. I don't know why I put this Fallout 76.
I was about to say, this is because Fallout 76 is still horror.
It's a horror town, USA. This is for that America's Playground Atlantic City expansion.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Is out. They finally put it out. It's very, very New Vegas, very like the mob and the post-apocalyptic thing. They've got the Russo family with the son and the wife and then the screw-up daughter, and they've got casinos and stuff. It still kind of just looks like shit. It gets older and older every time I see it. Not even it's the post-apocalyptic wasteland, but this engine was a little outdated when Fallout 4 came out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Fallout 4 didn't age well at all.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't even stylized enough to age the way Fallout 3 and New Vegas did.
They need to give Fallout 7. What I'm saying is they need to give Fallout 76 to Sean Murray.
He'll fucking make that shit sing, man.
Yeah, he'll make it work. He'll put some spaceships in there and some customization.
It's a game that I'm surprised has lasted this long, but it means that it's making money.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate the fact that it's apparently got enough of a user base. I know for a fact, based on some of my previous employment, that it doesn't take a huge team to just crank out online multiplayer stuff, as long as the game itself is built in an efficient way, so you're not constantly having to just fix bullshit, which I feel like they did for the first year.
Yeah, it's because it's clear they weren't ready yet,
right?
And to the point where there was nothing to do once out in the world.
Yeah,
there wasn't even NPCs to talk to.
Yeah,
but they had the whole reason for that. We're the first people to ever step foot outside ever.
Right.
But then all of a sudden there's all these things afterwards, and all they did was they made a Fallout game that was now an MMO
that happens to also be online.
Yeah, but at the beginning it wasn't. It was them it was clear that they used the excuse so they could fuck around with it until they were ready.
I really do think the next thing they do should be to redo the graphics. I know it's a big thing, but
they should minimum up-res some stuff. But the issue is it looks like an early PS4 game.
The people still have that horrible Fallout mannequin stare and stuff. It would
even the shooting doesn't feel satisfying when you see the scenes of them firing.
Yeah,
from first person,
which is weird because as much as I think that Starfield has problems, I think the shooting in Starfield feels great.
Oh yeah, it feels fantastic.
So I wish that they could kind of clean it up a little bit. But what reason do they have at this point?
They really don't at this point, because the game's been out since fucking
2019.
I can't remember. It was either 19 or 18, something like that.
Let's see. Fallout 76 was 2018. October 23rd, 2018. So
yeah, it's been out for a while, and it's done well enough that they didn't that they didn't immediately shut it down, which honestly it would look like they were going to a lot there because they kept fucking up. And like it was every other week there was a new story of them fucking up.
Oh yeah, when it came out in 2018, that was like RageSelect podcast all about what new fresh stupid ass thing did Bethesda do this week.
And it wasn't always something that was going on in the game. It would be something they did outside of the game that just made people even more angry.
Help desk is making people write apologies in order to get their accounts back.
Yeah,
like,
and then there's the bag debacle.
The bag, the vodka or whatever it was, the Nuka-Cola stuff. Yeah,
it was bad. It was real bad for a while there.
Not good. Let's see. Dead by Daylight has a really interesting crossover. Apparently, there's a big Slipknot collection, and I don't know much about Slipknot, but apparently there are a lot of different fucked up guy masks in Slipknot.
Yes,
and they're all coming to the killers in Dead by Daylight. You could buy a pack of like 8 different Slipknot masks to put on your dudes in Dead by Daylight.
I forgot they announced this because when I was still writing articles, I remember writing an article about this, but there was no images for it yet.
Yeah,
they had just announced it. It's when they announced the Nick Cage one originally.
Oh, okay.
But they're like, oh, by the way, we're also doing something with Slipknot, and I was like, I'm sorry, what was that last part?
Yeah. So that's a thing.
It's so weird, but it makes sense because you said they have a lot of weird fucking masks.
They do. They're all creepy looking, so that makes sense. I don't know much about Slipknot. That was past my time. So, we got a trailer for a game called Zoochosis.
Zoochosis makes the most sense.
Yeah. Have you seen any of this, Michael? I want you to know that before what's about to happen happens.
If it's the game I think it is, I think I've heard of it, but I don't remember.
This is a bigger trailer where they show a guy, he's like at a weird after-hours zoo, and he's watching like a TV program about spiders, and he walks into the next room because he hears something, and it's a fucking spider giraffe.
Okay, yeah, this is the game I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah. This is really weird. It's like apparently there's a little gameplay trailer they put out where you're like grinding up bodies to make food for all the animals in the prison or in the zoo, and it's like this horrible industrial garbage. And then when you like they show them feeding the various animals, cleaning up their poop, like looking at animals and stuff, but then it's like they go out to the giraffes, and there's like a spider giraffe. Like it's like a giraffe sized thing with like spider legs and a giant fucking teeth head, and then it's like, oh, I gotta get like a tranquilizer dart and chase down the spider giraffe and shoot it so that it doesn't kill the rest of the spiders. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I remember when they first announced this, it was like, what if the thing was like invading a zoo,
right?
But you had to like keep all the animals alive from whatever these things were.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard, but you have my attention.
It seems interesting. The spider giraffe design is amazing.
Yes.
It's really creepy. It's big, and it looks enough like a spider but still like a giraffe that it doesn't like completely fuck me up. But yeah, it's got a real thingy vibe to it.
Yeah, because you're like, I don't know enough about it, but it's just at least I thought it was you like killing them and then like trying to rescue the animals in general.
Yeah.
But based on this trailer now, it just seems that you're just working at the zoo and you just know this is a thing that it can happen.
Right.
You're just trying to keep casualties to a minimum.
Right.
Which is somehow better to me because I think that's amazing.
What's interesting is they show a bunch of other animals. They show like
living their lives,
like penguins and kangaroos and stuff. And I'm just like, well, what kind of fucked up shit is going to happen to those poor assholes?
Yeah,
like
I'm fascinated by that because before I thought it was going to be like, oh, you work there and then something was going horribly wrong.
Right.
But the fact that he's like, shit, it's another fucking zombie or not zombie, like spider giraffe, and I'm just gonna fucking trank it real quick.
Yeah.
I love that way more.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea that this is just how his life is, and he's like, okay, I just have to take care of this.
Yep. I like it when these horror games do this stuff where it's like there's definitely a horror aspect to it, but it's mixed with some kind of like management element.
Well, it reminds me of like the original idea of Ghostbusters, which is that like they were just exterminators that just like, oh, you just have to deal with ghosts, and it's just their everyday job.
Yeah.
And I always love the idea of like, this is your everyday job, but it's just weird as shit.
Yeah. No, I like it. let's see. We got a trailer for Worshippers of Cthulhu, which is apparently like a city management game.
Oh.
But the city that you're managing is like an eldritch abyssal Cthulhu city over the giant hellmouth where the old ones will come back.
That's amazing.
And all the buildings are like weird, like evil Doctor Strange buildings and stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
That's kind of interesting. So you get to run the town, but it's like a horrible town.
Yeah,
which
sacrifices and shit, I assume.
Yeah, which is like another really interesting thing in my opinion. I also like the fact that because you're doing it from a town perspective, when you see like big fuck off shit happening, it's really big. Like it's not like just kind of big. It's like fucking like tentacles that are as big as a city coming out and stuff. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. Worshippers of Cthulhu coming this year to Steam. Let's see. From there, we got a developer diary for Tenebris Somnia, which is something that like I'm really interested in this game. I don't know if you've seen this before.
You told me about it, but I don't remember seeing much about it.
Yeah, it's basically like a Maniac Mansion style, like kind of pixelated adventure game. But then every so often, when something fucked up happens, the game cuts from like Thimbleweed Park into like live action.
Yeah.
like
which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And so this little developer diary is only a few minutes long. They talk about that the director was inspired by Faith, that game that Jason and I played.
That makes sense.
But they have a really good monster. They have this monster where it's this lady with a head, like, and then an inverted head, and they both have the same mouth.
Yeah.
And then the mouth has like a big tongue that comes out of it. Also, the director was like, make no mistake, this is a love story. I'm like, a what now?
Oh, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
So, yeah, they show some kind of behind-the-scenes stuff. They seem like they're doing a really good job filming the live-action parts. Like, it's all put together in a really good way, and I think the idea of just playing kind of a Maniac Mansion style game and then suddenly like cutting over into an ultra realistic depiction of that is a really cool idea.
It also saves a lot on what like you want to do with it. If that makes sense. Like there's a lot of stuff in between these things that they probably just didn't want to deal with filming.
Yeah.
But
so
that's really cool.
It's just a very creative concept.
And the fact that it showed a lot of the monsters and stuff is practical as well.
Yep.
Is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
This is going to be all over YouTube for a while, just like full cutscenes probably.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of, I think people will have fun with just that.
Yep. They took the footage from an earlier trailer where it's like 2023 wish list now.
Yeah, I was
and
about
it's
to
like,
say, what?
Guys, it's 2024
From the far off year of 2023.
So yeah, it's coming probably at some point, I believe. There's a demo out right now. I don't even want to play the demo. I want to go into it like completely fresh.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, that's a game. Like horror games are better if you go in completely fresh.
Yeah.
Instead of doing like a demo for it. Like if there was a demo for that game, I don't know if that came out yet, for the Subway one that we did.
Which one?
The train thing that we did yesterday.
Oh, that was a full game.
Well, that's what I mean. If there was like a demo of that, like I would have been bummed out because it's way more exciting to to play that full game right away.
Shinkansen Zero, the Chilla's art.
Like that's the thing about horror is it's more fun because you keep going from that point on. Because if you're scared and then there's a gap in between, now you're just like, I'm excited to see the scary thing instead of being afraid of it.
Right. That game was brilliant. I really liked that game.
Absolutely brilliant. It was creepy as hell.
Make sure to examine everything closely to see if there's something wrong. And so you're like, okay, I'm looking really hard. Oh, shit.
Yeah. I don't know if it's out yet, but if it's out by now, you guys...
It'll come out the same day as the
one
podcast.
of my favorite things we have done.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
It was so good because we did like South Park so much, and it was just like, oh, God, finally something cool.
Yeah, something amazing.
Metal Hellslinger is coming to VR.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we did one dojo for this, and it was an unmitigated disaster because you can't talk and do the beat at the same time.
I'm very bad at those types of games. Like that's why I never really played Crypt of the Necrodancer. I tried doing the Zelda one years ago, but like I just could not figure it out.
I'm okay at them when I'm concentrating, but I have to be. It never just like fades into the background. I have to be like thinking about it.
Yeah,
like Hi-Fi Rush was very
think about it.
Difficult.
Yeah, I never finished it because I was just like, I'm not doing the attacks the way I'm supposed to, and that's really frustrating me.
Yeah. So yeah, MetaQuest, Steam, PSVR 2 this year.
Okay.
But I know some people are going to be like, that sounds too stressful, Jeff. What if I want to have virtual reality that is not very stressful? Well, guess what? If you've got a MetaQuest, you can play Lawnmower Simulator VR in virtual reality. I don't understand this at all. This is not what I meant when I said that you should all go touch grass.
It's also not what I meant when I said you should make a Lawnmower Man game
right.
in VR.
Right. A virtual reality Lawnmower Man game. Yeah, I don't.
Europe loves these fucking games.
I know,
and I think it's because they don't have yards.
I know. Like, if what's so weird about it is just that it's like, wouldn't this be better with a steering wheel?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
You're just gonna hold your hands in the air and then go run, 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 like you're driving. Like
I generally don't understand it.
Yeah, I understand Power Wash Simulator. In fact, I'm really bummed that I have a PSVR 2 and Power Wash Simulator isn't on PSVR. It's only on MetaQuest.
Is it not? That's
yeah. It's one of the reasons.
I'm sure it'll be on there eventually.
PSVR 2 is so like
lackluster.
Yeah, the lack of games on there. So, but yep, that's coming at some point. Or no, it's out now. You can get it right now.
Okay, cool.
We got a new trailer for Blockbuster Incorporated, which is that the movies.
Yeah.
And they actually show like a few things. Like they start it with a parody of The Room, where he's saying, and then they switch over to a Barbie parody, showing that like you really can kind of put together like very specific.
That's really fun.
References, and you can set up like. Poor John is going to just be ruined by this game because
probably
the movies was like one of his favorite games of all time, and you can't play it anymore because it's too old.
Is it really?
Yeah,
didn't even realize that.
But yeah, it looks like exactly what people want, where you can kind of like you can set up scenes and then you can actually like edit them and you can put them together into an actual thing. And
that's really cool. Cool.
Looks pretty fun. They even at the end they have like a Homelander costume.
Yeah, just straight up.
Yeah,
like I'm amazed they were able to do all that.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know. It's like what if you had The Sims, but then you put in like one of the machinima kind of tools into it directly. So
I'm excited to see what people do with it.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be great, especially when you give people like carte blanche to do stuff. They tend to be pretty creative. So
pretty
sure that's coming out. Oh yeah, June 6th this year.
Straight up the pose.
It's just straight up Homelander. Except he's skinny. He's skinnier than Homelander. But let's see. From there, we're getting some DLC for Double Dragon Gaiden.
I'm very excited for this.
Yep. Who is Sonny Lee?
I don't know. I'm guessing he's a new thing in this. I wanted to look it up, but I just never did.
Okay. He's like a very...
He might have been in one of the fighting games, probably.
He's like very sleepy. So we're getting Sonny Lee and Shin Mei as new characters, and then we're getting a bunch of like new modes. There's like a survival mode, and online co-op, which is hard to believe. That
I remember we were like, "Why isn't this a thing already?"
Yeah.
Okay, he was a character introduced in Double Dragon 3, which is the reason I don't remember him because I didn't really play 3 very much.
Okay, he's very sleepy. He seems like he's very tired. He's got bags under his eyes, and some of his attacks are like kind of laying down. So.
Okay, so I guess since Double Dragon 3 had a third character, that's why he was a part of it.
Oh, there you go. And also Ranzu.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Some of them are new characters, but Sonny Lee apparently the last time he showed up was in River City Girls 2 as a cameo.
Oh, okay.
So
fair enough. I'm glad that this has got enough traction to get free DLC characters.
Yeah, we had a good time with it.
Yeah. I had a good time playing it after we got done. It was pretty fun. Let's see. We got another overview trailer for No Rest for the Wicked, that game from Moon Studios, the Ori people, Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't know if you were on when we had like a 10-minute developer walkthrough where they talked all about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on in this game than I thought. There's like mining and crafting and like adventuring and like places that you can only like secret places to get to for traversal. in addition to all of the kind of Soulsy combat stuff. Looks incredible. It just looks really, really good. And not just that, but it's going into early access on Steam in April.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I don't know. I mean, hopefully this will be one of those good early access ones where they use the feedback to make it good, like Baldur's Gate or something. But apparently there's like a house that you buy and you could decorate and you could craft items to go in there. And it's like one of those bringing the city back to life things as well. Okay. But yeah, just a lot going on here than I thought from the original trailer. The idea that the first of these trailers came out like, was it Game Awards?
Yeah.
Where they announced it? Like 3 months ago? Like, they really kept their cards close to their vest, and I really appreciate that, as opposed to dangling that shit in front of me for a long time.
It's because everybody's so focused on the Ori game that they didn't even consider the fact they were doing something else.
I really like the developer was talking about how like, I wanted to do all these things, but no game did all these things. So I decided, I guess we'll just have to make the game that does these things that I always wanted to play in a video game. And I'm like, that's a good reason to make a video game.
It's a great reason to make a video game.
So
some of the best indie games are for that exact reason.
It also just looks amazing. Like it really does. It's kind of unified painterly texture. It looks better than a lot of other games that I feel like I've tried.
100%. But that it's a great pedigree though. This studio really knows how to make stuff pop.
Yeah. The only thing I'm a little worried about was that Ori and the second one.
Yeah, I don't know the full name of it.
Had some. It was like, I think it only ran at like 30 frames per second. It was a little chunky performance wise.
Yeah, some stuff could barely run it.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed in that because like this game isn't doing enough heavy lifting to need to slow down. Yeah. So, but what do I know? Anyway, April 18th, going into early access. Let's see. We got the announcement for Knights in Tight Spaces, which is the fights in tight spaces person doing an RPG.
Oh, that's fun.
So instead of the kind of Matrix secret agent stuff that you had before, you pick yourself a party, you build a deck of moves, and then you get very limited kind of like tactical action. Were you on when we played Fights in tight spaces?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I remember us talking about it, but I can't remember if I was on it.
Yeah. Looks good. I mean, they put a little bit more color in to kind of differentiate it. It's got this kind of colored pencil look to it. I don't know. Like, this is always one of those things where it's like, that's a really great idea that I'm not sure that I really want to play for a million years. Like, it's kind of fun to check out, but
yeah, check out or probably watch somebody go through it kind of thing.
So, but still looks interesting. Kind of out of the blue. I don't know if it got let's see, did it get a release date? This is wish list, so no. And then, we got a couple more things here. Nintendo threw F-Zero Maximum Velocity on the...
You gotta beat Nietzsche.
Yes, on the Plus Store. This is a GBA F-Zero game. Did you ever play this?
I did.
Was it good?
I had a lot of fun with it, but it was a Game Boy Advance game, so it wasn't mine, so that was the reason I only played it for a little bit.
Okay.
So I never really dug that deep into it, but I liked what I played of it.
Yeah.
Because the Game Boy Advance racing games were actually pretty solid. Like the Mario Kart game on there was great. And so the F-Zero one, I had a lot of fun with.
Well, it's like, it basically looks very similar to a Super Nintendo game, which is kind of the GBA's like secret power was that it could do stuff that looked the same as a
and it worked
Super
great
NES.
because of it. And that was the start of them releasing SNES like looking games.
Yeah.
Was on there.
Yeah,
but they weren't like as easy to control. Well, that was the reason the F-Zero one worked fine though, since it was already 2 buttons to begin with.
Right.
So that ended up working fine.
Yep. So if you've got Switch Online, you can go download that, check it out. It's pretty good.
I just hope they eventually do that GameCube one, but who knows? They haven't done any other GameCube stuff in a long time.
Oh yeah, I'm just surprised that F-Zero. Like, how many fucking Pikmin games have we got, and we haven't gotten a new F-Zero in
crazy.
Like 4 generations or something? Like,
it's insane that Captain Falcon is this great, like this big name for Nintendo, but only in Smash Brothers?
Yeah.
Like, people don't even know he's a racing character.
Yep.
It's fascinating.
Yep. Well, they're too busy making ARMS and Princess Peach Showtime.
Yeah.
Let's
see. All the Splatoon money.
We got a release date for Still Wakes the Deep, which is that kind of eldritch horror on an oil platform thing made by the Chinese Room, who made What Remains of Edith Finch and Everybody Goes to the Rapture and those games, kind of walking simulator stuff. It looks like there's going to be some more kind of like actual stuff going on. We got a few kind of glimpses of weird, like, again, kind of like the Thing-ish, like biomechanical junk around.
Yeah,
like the movie Virus.
it's got like a lot of psychological horror stuff apparently too.
Yeah. A lot of flashing, disturbing imagery and such.
I think it could be really cool if done well.
Yeah.
And so I am interested to see how it plays out.
Yep. But yeah, June 18th is when that's going to be coming out. Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm kind of 50-50 with that company. Like I liked what I played of What Remains of Edith Finch, but I never actually finished playing What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yeah, and Everyone Goes to Rapture was just kind of meh.
Yeah, Everybody Goes to Rapture didn't like those kind of got tired of it by the end.
That was the one that I'm like, okay, this is what the thing that makes me not really like walking simulators.
And Machine for Pigs, I didn't bother with that one really. Oh no, wait, no, not Dear Esther. Oh yeah, Dear Esther. Yeah, Amnesia and Everybody's Gone to Rapture. So, let's see, we got a release date and a name for Shadows of the Damned.
Yes.
Grasshopper Manufacturer said that it's going to be coming out this year, right? Later this year.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
And it's being called Shadows of the Damned: Hello Remastered.
Oh my god. You guys have no idea how excited I am for this game.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I loved this game when it came out.
They having a whole thing. They had a trailer they put out, a whole thing at PAX.
Oh really?
Where you could go play it. And also Suda51 was there, and like, you could play cards with him, and if you beat him, you got like a special prize or something.
Oh, that's where Maddie was.
Yeah,
because that's if you guys don't know, there's this girl on Twitter who she has a Twitch that she played all of the Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah,
and she became this huge thing because of it. And she works for Suda51 now because she lives in Japan normally. And so she was apparently at PAX East, and she was talking about how like she's like, yeah, I'm watching Suda, and then at one point she put a tweet like, we lost him, and I almost had a heart attack. Like, because my first thought was like he died for some reason.
Oh right.
And like I was like, oh, I fucking hate this doctor. But yeah, apparently she was there, and like people were walking up to her more, because they knew her more than the game, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's funny. I can't wait for this game to get re-released. I thought it was very.
Oh, I'm excited as hell. We joked about. I don't know if we joked so much as we wanted to do an entire let's play of this one.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm still down for that, to be honest, because I really like that game.
I'm sure we'll have the opportunity at some point.
It's fascinating to know that game was not even supposed to be close to what it ended up becoming, though.
Yeah.
When you watch What's Happened for it. It's crazy.
I haven't watched that. I need to watch it.
It's fascinating because it was supposed to be a completely different game before that point.
Yeah.
And then it turned into what it was. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm happy or sad that this happened.
I don't know. I remember having a good time playing it. I would like to play it again. And but then I also wanted to come out so that Suda51 could get back to work on that game he's making with what's his face?
With fucking I forgot what his name was. He's another great guy that does other stuff similar to his shit.
He did the D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Oh, what the fuck is his name?
Let's see.
I can't remember.
Dark. If I do D4 Dark, I should be able to get him. It's what? D4 Dark Ravine. No, what the fuck?
It auto
Diablo
something.
4.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is Suda? No, god damn it! What is his moniker?
I don't remember what his moniker is anymore.
Let's see. Swery.
That's what it was. Okay, I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Because I almost said Swery originally, but I'm like, is it Swery? I might be fucking that up. Okay.
He directed Spy Fiction?
Really?
On the PS2?
Did not know that.
I kind of want to find that.
I kind of do now, too.
I remember that being just like a Metal Gear ripoff, and I'm kind of curious, though. Like,
yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So, all right. Great. We got the release window for the second DLC for Dead Island 2.
Oh, cool.
So we got the House DLC that came out last year, and then in April, there's going to be April 17th, they're putting out the second one. It's centered around a music festival where the horrible zombie shit happens.
Oh, okay.
So there's going to be like a big open area. It's going to apparently be just like a whole other area that's gigantic. Which is great. Dead Island 2 rules. Everyone should go play Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 rules. Everybody should go play Dead Island 2. Have you played Dead Island 2 yet, Michael?
No, but it is a miracle that game, 1 came out, and 2 that it was actually a pretty good game.
Isn't it on Game Pass?
I don't know. It might be. I feel like there was an announcement for that at one point.
Oh, look at that. This news article. Surprise, Dead Island 2 has quietly landed on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, okay. Because that's one of the things I thought
February,
about doing.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah. because I would like to play it still.
Well, there you go. You just finished Final Fantasy VII. You're looking for something new to play.
Yeah.
Get
I should get through Alan Wake first.
Get your ass to Hell A and see Dead Island 2. Well, yeah, Dead Island 2, Alan Wake 2, they're basically the same game. Come on. Final Fantasy XIV's Dawn Trail expansion has a release date.
I heard Dong Trail.
July 2nd. And apparently there's an early access 4 days earlier on June 28th. What's funny is Yoshida, the director on it, he was like, we actually wanted the early access to start on like a week earlier, but that is when Shadow of the Erdtree comes out. And they were like, so we're giving you 1 week.
If anything, that's also like, we want to play it too, and we don't want to keep an eye on this early access.
Yeah. There's some Final Fantasy 9 stuff in here.
Oh, that's fun.
Zidane and Garnet things. But yeah. But it's kind of nice because that whole thing is themed after like summer vacation, like an island vacation. So
that's fun.
You know, that's good that it's going to happen. Let's see. Final Fantasy 16's next DLC got a new trailer and a release date.
Oh, that's the other thing I never finished.
You never finished 16?
I didn't finish the DLC, the last one.
I was going to wait for both of these. Apparently, the second one's going to have Tonberries in it. So
well, those fucker guys suck.
Yep.
Oh my god, they're the worst in 7.
A whole bunch of new stuff, new quest givers. I like this one. Return to a quest giver immediately with the new quick complete function.
Oh my god. That would have saved me so much time.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So yeah, this is the one with the Leviathan. Apparently the Leviathan weapon is like a gun, basically.
Okay.
I don't know if they show it in places here, but yeah, it's like it's like a Leviathan head that just shoots like water lasers at people.
That's
like
so weird.
That you could charge up and do shit with. So I don't know. Again, I ended up liking Final Fantasy 16. Okay, just wish it wasn't called Final Fantasy.
I like it more than I liked 7 Rebirth. Do with that information what you will.
Well, there you go. But yeah, that's coming out. When is that coming out? I think it's also in April. We're getting a lot of the April. It is in April because I put it on the schedule. April 18th.
Okay.
So.
Okay, maybe I'll just wait for it to come out for me to go back to that one.
Yeah, they could do both of them back to back. Also, there was an interview with Yoshida where he basically said like the PC might not be the last platform to get Final Fantasy 16. Where he was like, we're open to bringing it to kind of all kinds of places.
It'll be on your phone now with tiny versions of them.
Well, the first question is Xbox Series X.
It should.
Which it should. There's no reason why it couldn't. But then also, there's no way it's going to work on the Switch, but maybe a Switch 2, depending on how much hardware they shove into that thing.
Well, they could do what they did with 15. I know we mentioned it once before.
Or they do the
stripped
down version,
super stripped down version,
kind of chibi version,
or maybe they do the online thing for it.
Okay,
that they did for Guardians and those,
like the streaming.
Yeah. I could see them doing that.
Maybe. I'm trying to think if they did anything else in that. Nope, nothing I know of. Remember that game Hellgate London?
Yeah, actually.
Well, they're bringing it back.
But why, though?
I don't know. Apparently, Hellgate Redemption is being worked on by the guy that did the original Hellgate London, and they're trying to kind of like integrate everything that they've learned over the years and bring it back and to make it the game they always wished that it would be. Then I remember, didn't Hellgate London fumble mainly because of like microtransaction stuff and
if I remember correctly,
bullshit? So
it didn't do great. That was the reason why it hasn't been, beloved.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently they're starting development of a new Hellgate London game, and I'm just like, like, really?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You guys must be hard up if somebody's going to give you money for a new Hellgate game, because that was it was like post-apocalyptic futuristic tech versus demons.
Yeah,
it was a really weird. And then when you played it, it was like a Diablo game or like a behind the back game,
something like that. It's been a long time since I even remember that name. Like, you see, even saying it unlocked a part of my brain that hasn't worked in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. Who could say whether that's a good idea or not? Yeah, look at those orbs. Look at them Diablo orbs in that screenshot.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
It's got the red orb and the blue orb, but then it's like a first person or a third person.
Yeah, it looks like a third person. Yeah, it was a third person one.
Man, it looks crappy. Boy, it looks so crappy. I don't know.
The fact that it's still on Steam is actually kind of surprising.
Chime in the comments. $12.99. This motherfucker's got the audacity to charge me $13 for Hellgate.
It's got the super bundle for only $20.
$17.23. All right, let's finish up with a few fun things. Oh wait, here's another thing I think everybody should be available or should be aware of. Humble Bundle has an Earth Defense Force bundle.
Oh,
that is they're like 18 games. It's not 18 games. It's like 5 games and DLCs.
Oh, okay.
Because these are all DLCs for Earth Defense Force 4.1. All of these, but so they have Earth Defense Force 4.1, Earth Defense Force Iron Rain, Earth Defense Force Wing Diver. Shadow of the New Despair, which was kind of like the re-release, World Brothers, and then 5.
Okay.
It doesn't include 6, which is out of Japan, but not in the United States yet, or World Brothers 2 that was announced last week.
Okay.
Which is a weird thing to announce, but
come out with 6 here, you cowards.
Yep. Well, it's on the way. It's like
it is.
It's in production.
I'm trying to taunt them to make it go faster.
Yeah. But
what do you say? Fuck that guy.
For $18, go buy that for $18.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
23 items. So, all right, some fun stuff. This is so funny. People. Okay, one of the things that you can do in Dragon's Dogma 2 is you can create fakes.
Yeah,
you can make counterfeit copies of things, and so people have been when you get somebody else's pawn and then when you eventually dismiss them, you give them a rating and you can choose to send them back with a gift for the person. So you can just send them back with like some potions
like
or whatever.
Thing,
yeah. Some people are sending them back with counterfeit of big items.
That's
so
amazing.
Like, these items in this tweet from Demolicious over here, who said just fucking stop. This is like a thing that ups your carry weight.
Yeah.
And it's called like a golden something beetle, and then it's like slightly changed to be a golden stove beetle instead of like a golden stave beetle or something. This is the Eternal Woke Stone, not the Eternal Wake Stone.
Honestly, Eternal Woke Stone is a great name.
Yeah.
That is really funny.
These are the Seeders tokens instead of Seekers tokens.
Oh my god!
But they have the exact same icon, and then the part crystal instead of a port crystal.
Oh my god!
The thing that I love, the reason I love this game so much is because of dumb shit like this. The thing that I love about this game is that the game will let you try to use them. It doesn't even stop you from using them.
Oh.
So in this thread, here's a video of somebody, and what they're doing. I want to make sure Michael understands what this is when you use a fast travel crystal, it like you pick on the map where you want it to go, you throw it up in the air, and it becomes a giant portal.
Yeah.
So here is somebody, they're picking a fake crystal, a fairy stone instead of a fairy stone. And they go through the whole point of choosing it, and they throw it up in the air, and it just falls on the ground because it's just a fucking rock. Like it's just garbage, and nothing happens.
Oh my god, that's amazing! What was the title of that post? Because I saw something that made me kind of giggle.
It was nothing like it did to make me look stupid in front of my friends. Because here's the thing. This is what people are now afraid of their pawns, because if you do something stupid, it's known that pawns will go into other games and comment on the things that you have done incredulously. So, like, there's
amazing.
a very good chance that whoever this guy's rented pawns are will go back and be like, one time my master fell for oh, it's so good, master, to see that you have real fairy crystals. My master once threw a fake one up in the air and it just hit the ground or something like that, right?
That's amazing. They just don't want to get shit talked behind their back.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
that's
like,
so fucking funny.
It's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good.
And what's great is that it's clear that he did it so fast because he's like, oh, I have one of these, not realizing he doesn't have one.
Went into his inventory and just saw the little blue stone, and he just grabbed it.
Because it's right next to the real one.
Right. But the amazing thing is that when he uses it, it brings up the menu to have him choose where he wants to go.
Normal stuff.
Yeah. And then when he finally selects yes, he goes to the cutscene where he throws up in the air, and then it just goes and it just hits the ground like nothing happened.
It's the plop that sells it.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
it's pretty amazing.
So wonderful.
Yep.
Oh my god! I want more games that have stupid shit like that.
I like Dragon's Dogma too. It's mean, and I like that.
Yeah.
It's fucking evil, and I fucking dig that shit. Let's see. Speaking of evil, somebody put Cheech. They're putting Cheech and Chong in Call of Duty.
What the fuck,
Warzone?
Call of Duty?
Like,
who's? But Dave's not here, man. What the fuck, man?
not just that, but they're being voiced by Cheech Marin
They
and Tommy
actually
Chong.
doing the voices for it?
Yeah. The thing is, I can't think of anybody less. This is like putting the Iron Giant in multiverses, where it's like
Yeah.
they're not violent. They're going to be driving around a Jeep, shooting people with machine guns. Cheech and fucking Chong.
This is the weirdest thing. What the? I don't have words.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anything, the only way this will be acceptable is if they have a special healing item that works only for them.
Yeah.
And maybe Snoop Dogg, because I remember Snoop Dogg's in this game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's a special herb that can heal anything.
I don't know. It's very weird. It's just, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
If anything, they should also have plus 10 damage to the Weed Man as well.
Like, I mean, it'd be like, you know what? It would be like if it was like Martha Stewart.
Yes.
Like, you'd be like, why is Martha Stewart?
Although Martha Stewart's actually gone to jail, so.
And Snoop Dogg is in the game.
Not.
Martha Stewart actually makes more sense.
It does.
Than Cheech
Snoop
and
Dogg,
Chong. Than
ironically.
Cheech and Chong.
But it also makes more sense than Cheech and Chong because,
yeah.
like, okay, if it was like the characters that they've played that have been in violent things,
right?
Then maybe, because
Yeah.
I know Cheech has played some characters that are that were more violent type characters. But Chong, I've never seen ever be like that.
They're in their Up in Smoke outfits.
Yes,
like
they're in their most famous looks.
It's not a violent, like, even if there was like, at the end of the movie when they're in the band and Cheech has like the tutu on, like that would make more sense to be like, oh my god, here's a crazy dude like out here shooting people in a tutu. But like,
this is just Cheech and Chong grow up in smoke.
Yeah, like the idea that they're in a Jeep and that it's just like the most famous scene from that movie is them in a fucking smoking out a car when the cop walks up to it. Also, you guys should go. I'll go watch Up in Smoke.
You
it's
absolutely should all watch Up in Smoke.
Fucking hilarious.
It's one of the funniest movies ever made.
Yeah,
it has aged beautifully.
Yeah, yeah. And last but not least, Michael. Some people spend so much time asking if they could that they don't ask themselves if they should. Somebody has modded Sonic the Hedgehog into fucking Desert Bus.
Oh my god.
So it's Desert Bus, but you're Sonic the Hedgehog, and if you leave the Sonic gradually drifts to the right, so you can't just let it go.
Drift.
Yep. And if you touch either side of the road, you die. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Desert Bus is a game from a Penn and Teller collection.
Yeah.
Where you have to drive from like Vegas to like California or something.
Yeah,
like that.
somewhere. I think it's LA or something like that. But in real time.
In real time, for 8 hours, it's just a road. There's no music. It's just the sound of the bus. There's nothing. And the bus drifts a little bit to the right, so you can't even like put the controller down and just let it go. You have to actually be doing it as part of a game that they were going to put out that was a prank game.
Yeah,
where, like, people could use a second controller to fuck with the people that were trying to play the game at the time. It never actually came out, but they did. It did leak, and then they ripped the source code out of it.
Yeah.
And like, there's a whole Desert Bus for charity thing that people do where they actually do. Apparently, with Sonic the Hedgehog, you can make the drive in 3 hours instead of 8 hours.
That's kind of fun, actually. I think that's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
because it shows that he is fast.
Yes. So it's called Desert Bus Frontiers.
Because it's his Frontiers.
Because it's the Sonic Frontiers, like
and the whole menu and everything
configuration. Yeah, that is ridiculous. But I have to give props to whoever did it because
I can't wait to see that done for charity. Because people were going to do that. Yeah, Sonic running. And the fact that like they made sure that he slightly tilts to the right is the best thing ever.
Yep. So you can't just like walk away. So, and that's it. Damn, we went over time again. Even just by 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But like we're still over time. That's the podcast, everybody. Hey,
yes,
made it all the way to the end. Good on you. You're a trooper. Michael, tell the people where they can find you when you're not over here helping me talk about all this bullshit.
You can find me on OneOfUs.net. We do a lot of movie television reviews. My last review was for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The comic came out recently that's supposed to take place between Afterlife and Frozen Empire.
Oh.
And it is very disappointing. Because the story is fine, but the art is just not very good at all. Like, it looks like they're like, you know, the joke where it looks like they're stunt doubles. It looks like they're stunt doubles.
Oh, okay.
Like when they show like the character is supposed to be Paul Rudd, I'm like, that guy is way too fat to be Paul Rudd. Like, well, you guys have completely fucked this.
Fair enough. Wow.
It's a shame.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to tell you to go to patreon.com/RageSelect. I'm going to say that you go watch Michael and I's video for today because I'm feeling that people aren't going to click on it because they're going to be like, what is that?
It's so great,
and
guys.
you should go totally watch us play Shinkansen Zero because
please watch that video.
It was very, very, very entertaining.
It's one of my favorite videos we've done.
Very fun. So,
hands down.
Yep, that's it. Get out of here. Go outside. Go touch some virtual grass and lawnmower simulator.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
Run fast for 3 hours.
Yeah, just whatever it is, don't do it in my house. Get out of here.